Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. People in Marvel. I become apprentice mage in Kamar Taj at the beginning. Chapter 81. Shield, New York. Hill hurriedly walked into Nick Fury's office. Sir, it's not good, something seems to have happened over there in Kathmandu. I already know, Nick Fury said. His expression was not particularly good. He pointed to the computer in front of him and said, "It has been said on the news, and now this matter has caused an uproar on the internet." With that, Nick Fury pushed the computer screen in front of Hill. Hill was stunned and looked at the screen. It was the latest news released on the internet, and the big words on the headline suddenly read, "Kathmandu suddenly fell golden light, the ground cracked, and the entire street was destroyed." Of course, this is not the point. The point is that the picture accompanying this news is actually Black Widow. I don't know who captured the picture. The capture happened to be the moment when Black Widow was splashed with water. Hill, it seems that Black Widow is also the one who almost met with the Grim Reaper. No wonder Agent Natasha said she wanted to come back, Hill said to Nick Fury with some embarrassment. Now, I'm afraid she won't be able to come back. Nick Fury shook his head and said, according to the latest information, when that golden light appeared, Kathmandu had about 10 minutes when a row of buildings that had never been seen before suddenly appeared. 10 minutes later, the buildings were all gone. Nick Fury looked at Hill and said seriously. That clearly meant telling Hill that he suspected that the disappearing buildings were Kamar Taj. So, are there any exact addresses for those buildings? Hill asked to Nick Fury. Yes, only about a street away from where Black Widow is sitting in the picture, Nick Fury said, transmitting all the data on the computer to Hill. After the operation was completed, Nick Fury said to Hill, "Kamar Taj, this place, we must find, whether its existence is to help the Earth or to the Earth, the existence of such a powerful institution must be a threat to the Earth." Hill nodded. She understood what Nick Fury meant. In fact, SHIELD has to ensure that in addition to managing the planet from damage, it has to ensure that it oversees all superheroes. In the words of Nick Fury, you don't know when these people with superpowers will become the deadliest disaster. Kamar Taj, Library. Astral projection is an experience that allows the soul to swim away from the body, and now you need to act every step according to what I said. Ji Yuyi said, raising his hand instantly, creating a mirror space, giving Zhang Yang a quiet environment. When everything was done, Ji Yupin sat opposite Zhang Yang and said, "Close your eyes, feel the magical energy in your body and your spiritual world, empty all your thoughts, forget everything, concentrate, and detect your spirit body, you can also call it a soul. Find your spirit body, hypnotize your own shell, come out with your spirit body, you need to overcome your spirit body's fear of the new world, find a balance point in the universe, make your spirit body feel safe, and slowly withdraw from your shell, so as to carry out the final step, withdrawal." Furuchi said, and as her words ended, a transparent phantom had appeared outside Furuchi's body. This phantom is the spirit body of Ji Yuyi. But soon, Furuchi returned the spirit body to his body. In fact, to reach this step of final withdrawal, it takes repeated practice, in which your spirit body slowly and little by little, until finally, it is completely withdrawn. Furuchi said the final closing words, took a deep breath, and slowly opened his eyes. "Master, is that so? Quote, quote, Eternal Emperor, I feel like I might be thinking wrong. I originally thought that I just found an apprentice who was better than Strange, but I never expected that I would find an apprentice who was better than Strange. If not personally teaching Zhang Yang and seeing it with his own eyes, Ji Yuyi would not believe it at all." In just a few minutes after what she just said, Zhang Yang actually learned the astral projection magic. This ostentatious, it's a bit godly. Should this be said to be good for flamboyant understanding or good for mental power? Or is it better to have both? You know, astral projection magic is an extremely difficult magic. Ordinary magic can be done with spells or understanding. But this requires its own spirit, and it also needs to be supported by powerful magical energy. Many people practice this magic repeatedly, but fail because of a little influence. But Zhang Yang actually withdrew the spirit body from the body when she spoke. Boy, that's a little too concentrated, isn't it? So, did Zhang Yang listen carefully to her words just now? This confused Ji Yuyi. Oh, it feels a bit brain-draining. Just when Ji Yuyi lost her mind, Zhang Yang's voice pulled her thoughts back, and she saw that Zhang Yang pressed his head with his hand at this time, and the spirit body had returned to his body. Just added up the time, if Ji Yuyi did not miscalculate, there were 10 minutes in total. This has reached the level of many extremely talented mages who have practiced for 2 years. It really shocked Ji Yuyi. After all, although Ji Yuyi knew that Zhang Yang was talented, most of the cultivators he had cultivated before were basic magic. And this astral projection magic is a high-level magic of Kamar Taj. Not everyone can use it, and not everyone can use it. It is no wonder that Wang is so evasive about teaching Zhang Yang. This Zhang Yang is really fast in learning things. It's normal, when the spirit and spirit are withdrawn, a high degree of concentration is required, and it is indeed very brain-consuming. Taking back the shock, Ji Yuyi explained to Zhang Yang. It's good to be able to pull away the first time, you have to practice more. The more you practice, the more time your spirit body can spend in the outside world, and the more things you can do. You can think more when you go back, and if you need to practice, come to my temple at any time in the future. From now on, this is one of the practices you must do every day. Furuchi said and calmed his mood. Yes, Supreme Venerable, Zhang Yang said. You must practice diligently to make your soul stronger, but don't forget the practice of the power of space. Ji Yuyi instructed Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang nodded, closed his eyes and continued to practice. The next day, Zhang Yang arrived at the Ancient One Temple very early. Supreme Venerable, seeing Ji Yuyi, Zhang Yang saluted. Ji Yu leaned over, poured a cup of tea, handed it to Zhang Yang with both hands, and said, how did you go back to meditate on the astral projection technique? Zhang Yang said, it's okay. Master, I feel that my thoughts have been quite good recently. Ji Yu nodded, and then asked, what about spatial magic? Zhang Yang said, I have been understanding space magic recently, and I have tried it myself. I feel that tomorrow, there may be something new. Zhang Yang's face was a little happy. Then today we will continue to practice astral projection magic. Ji Yu Yipan sat on the ground and said, see if your spatial magic can create a mirror space now. Ji Yuyi's meaning is obvious, let Zhang Yang create a mirror space. I think it is to test the strength of Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang answered softly, and then raised his hand to cast magic. After a burst of crisp sounds, the mirror space is complete. Sometimes, Ji Yuyi had to sigh at his flamboyant learning ability. She had only performed how to make a mirror once, but Zhang Yang was now able to create an entire mirror space. It would be great if Kamar Taj's apprentices could have this understanding. After creating the mirror space, Zhang Yangpan sat down in front of Ji Yuyi and began the practice of astral projection. According to astral projection magic, the longer you withdraw, the stronger your soul will be. Ji Yuyi calculated the flamboyant withdrawal time yesterday, about 10 minutes. In general terms, no, with Ji Yuyi's magic experience for so long, Zhang Yang can withdraw for about half an hour at most. 3 times the time. For a night, though, a little reluctantly. But according to the ostentatious understanding, it should be possible. Ji Yuyi pondered in his heart, and said to the Zhang Yang spirit body that had withdrawn, let's see how long you can stay outside. If you feel that your body is weak, you must return to your body as soon as possible. Yes, Master, Zhang Yang replied. As soon as the words fell, Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang's shell with his hands behind him, observing the changes in his shell. 10 minutes passed, and the open shell did not change in any way. 20 minutes passed, and still nothing. Until the 30th minute, there was no change in the open shell. This made Ji Yuyi a little strange. It seems that he can stay longer. Furuchi thought to himself and continued to observe. As time passed, the expression on Ji Yuyi's face began to change slightly, and his heart began to wave. Isn't it? An hour has passed, and Zhang Yang has not changed yet. In this way, wouldn't Zhang Yang be able to last another hour? Furuchi decided to take another look. Until the 3rd hour passed. Ji Yuyi stared at the open shell and almost saw cross-eyed. This time, Ji Yuyi finally couldn't hold back. This is really God. I think she has been traveling in ancient times for so many years, and she has never seen any mage who can practice spirit projection to this point when she first started. In one night, I was able to practice to this point. It's been 3 hours, and the open spirit body can still support it. He pressed his hand to his eyes. Ji Yuyi said to the open spirit body, "You try to go outside now. If you feel that something is wrong, you must come back as soon as possible." Ji Yuyi said to Zhang Yang. Ji Yuyi felt that it was time for her to take a proper rest of her eyes. Zhang Yang, this guy, sometimes the ability is really unguessable. "Okay, master, then I'll go outside first," Zhang Yang said, and the spirit body had already walked out of the mirror space. It seemed that he couldn't wait to leave. Kamar Taj fighting arena. "What?" Ji Yuyi said. "That you asked me to call me how to control the power of lightning," Thor exclaimed, looking at the king standing in front of him, his face full of disdain. "Are you kidding? He's Thor. Now he is going to be taught by some mortals how to control the power of thunder and lightning." "Don't." Thor refused on the spot. "You know, I'm Thor, the god of thunder. No one knows thunder and lightning better than I do." Wong snorted coldly and said dissatisfied to Saul, "Then you put a thunderbolt on me to try." Saul. Thor has now found out. Kamar Taj and this group of people, really which pot does not open which pot, knowing that his hammer was poked by Zhang Yang, and let him release the power of thunder and lightning. "You let Furuchi fix my hammer for me first." Thor was dissatisfied and said to the king. As soon as these words came out, Wong scoffed and smiled. "Could it be that your hammer knows thunder and lightning better than you?" Thor was angry, obviously a lot more irritable. "What do you understand? My hammer is like your magic weapon. I'm used to it, I'm used to understanding or not." Thor was righteous when he said this. But in fact, without a hammer, Thor really didn't know how to control his lightning power. This incident also made Thor feel like a hammer god for a while. Although Thor had also used thunder and lightning when he was competing with Zhang Yang before, for some reason, now Thor really couldn't use it. Just poked in the heart by the king, Thor was a little dissatisfied, and the dead duck's mouth was also hard. "Our magic weapon is just an aid," Supreme Venerable said. "You can only use the power of Thor when you don't have a hammer to leave Kamar Taj. As for whether you learn or not, it's up to you," Wong said coldly to Thor. For Soul's hard character, Wong didn't want to care about it at all. After saying that, Wong planned to leave. At this moment, Thor suddenly stopped Wong. "Hey, Wong, do you mean that as long as I can control the power of thunder and lightning without a hammer, I can leave this ghost place?" Wong nodded. This made Thor a little moved. After all, he really wanted to leave Kamar Taj. This Kamar Taj is simply a hell, boring not to say, and there are a lot of rules. "Okay, you try to show me," Thor thought to himself, raised his chin to the king, and said, "If I feel good, I will learn." The king glanced at Thor, took a deep breath, raised his hand and directly cast the thunder of Boset directly on the ground. I saw a red light lit up in the king's hand. In the next second, Wong pressed his hands towards the ground, and the red light burst out, directly blowing the ground of the fighting arena. 1/3 of the fighting arena was instantly blown up, and the entire area where the thunder of Boset passed was overturned. After casting, Wong withdrew his hands and looked at Thor. "Gee, your lightning is almost the same. You must know that my power of thunder god is derived from nature, which is much more powerful than yours." Thor shook his head and looked at Wang Dao. This made the king a little angry, and said angrily to Thor, "The magic of Bossart thunder is that the stronger the magic energy, the greater the power. As for the step you said about obtaining power from nature, it has to be practiced very late. You are the son of Odin, the king of gods. I'm an ordinary person who obtains secret methods by cultivation, and you are embarrassed to pull down your face and compare with me. It seems to make sense." Listening to Wang say this, Thor felt that it seemed to be right. Nothing was wrong. "I'm just teaching you the method of Bossat's thunder, so that you can try to comprehend your own thunder and lightning power from the secret method. If you learn it, forget it if you don't learn it." Wang was angry and said angrily to Thor. With a wave of his hand, Wang seemed to want to leave. At this moment, Thor grabbed Wang and said, "Learn. Learn. Don't be so petty as a man, be atmospheric. Come, I'm ready," Thor said, rolling around his sleeves. Wang took a deep breath and shook his head. To tell the truth, if it wasn't for the Supreme Mage asking him to teach, he really didn't want to teach Thor. Sighed. Wang was preparing to teach Thor. Suddenly, Wang saw a phantom flashing not far away. If Wang is not mistaken, is that a spirit body? Could it be the spirit of the Supreme Venerable? Wang thought to himself. After all, in Kamar Taj, it seems that only Ji Yuyi can do astral projection magic, and without thinking much, Wang is preparing to teach Thor magic. Suddenly, Wang felt that something was wrong. Oh my god. That man turned out to be a flamboyant Fang Yang. As if a little disbelieving, Wang shouted at Zhang Yang. It seemed that he heard someone calling himself, so Zhang Yang stopped and floated towards the fighting arena. King, see the king, open and salute. All go. Zhang Yang, are you dead? Seeing Zhang Yang like this, Saul on the side couldn't help but exclaim, obviously startled, and was about to say a second sentence. Suddenly, Wang Yi pushed Saul away, stepped forward and looked at Zhang Yang and said, are you practicing astral projection magic? Well, the master said, let me go to Kamar Taj for 2 laps first. Zhang Yang answered truthfully. Wang looked stunned. What a crime. God, I haven't learned it for 5 years, and finally gave up the astral projection magic. Zhang Yang actually can. He came to Kamar Taj, it's only been about 2 weeks. Zhang Yang, do you want to be so perverted? Wang was a little depressed and sighed deeply. Every time Zhang Yang can always give Wang a different surprise, scare. Thor on the side, looking at Zhang Yang's looming spirit body with strange eyes, looked at it 3 or 4 times. Your Kamar Taj's magic is really strange. You know what? Wang Bai glanced at Saul and said, this secret method is practicing a person's soul. As a mage, you must have a strong soul. Thor frowned. Why don't you train your body and soul? Can souls fight? Wang Bai glanced at Saul. Of course. The supreme mage can. Her spirit body is very powerful, far more terrifying than you said she can fight. So what can the supreme mage do? Listening to Wang's words, Zhang Yang couldn't help asking. These words stopped the king. I don't particularly know, but I heard that this magic practice can be a spirit body or something later. Wang said truthfully. Spirit doppelganger. This word made Zhang Yang a little puzzled. It's that your soul incarnates another incarnation, which is somewhat similar to the doppelganger technique, but more powerful than the doppelganger technique. Wang explained. As soon as the words fell, Thor questioned, can this thing of soul still be separated? Nonsense. Wang Bai glanced at Saul. Of course, the supreme mage can. At present, what Wang said, the first sentence is true, and the latter sentence is his guess. It's just that, in order to deepen the credibility, Wang said so. After all, in Wang's heart, Ji Yuyi is omnipotent, so Wang feels that Ji Yuyi should be able to do it, although he has not seen it. In this way, it seems that I have to work harder. Zhang Yang secretly made up his mind in his heart. At this moment, Zhang Yang seemed to feel a change in his body, presumably because his mental power was consumed too much. Wang, then I'll go first, you guys practice. Zhang Yang said to Wang and Saul. Go ahead. After the king finished speaking, Zhang Yang's spirit body quickly floated towards the temple. At this time, in the temple, Ji Yuyipin was sitting opposite Zhang Yang's body, seemingly observing the changes in Zhang Yang's shell, so that he could find something wrong at the first time. This wait, another 5 hours. Plus before, a full 7 hours. The most important thing is that Zhang Yang's body does not seem to have changed much. Until another half an hour passed, Zhang Yang's body began to slowly weaken, and his face slowly became pale. Counting down, it's 7.5 hours in total. Ji Yuyuan never expected that after living for so long, today he actually opened his eyes on her apprentice's body. Taking a breath of cool air and calming his mood, Ji Yuyi looked at the spirit body that was about to help Zhang Yang forcibly return to its place, and saw that Zhang Yang's spirit body quickly floated back, and then reset. Hiss, a little dizzy. As soon as the spirit body was reset, Zhang Yang pressed his head with his hand. Needless to say, this magic is really brain-consuming. It's normal, just get used to it twice. Ji Yuyi said very calmly, but his heart was turbulent. Dizzy, you went out for 7.5 hours just after studying, and when you came back, you just got dizzy. This has to be changed to someone else, let alone 8 hours, just learning a day as 8 seconds cannot get out. Well, even if a gifted person can pull out, it will definitely be uncomfortable in 3 minutes. If the spirit body is forcibly left in the outside world at this time, it is very likely that the spirit body will never return to the body, which will eventually lead to the weakening of the soul and disappear. But you are good, Studied for 24 hours, tried a total of 2 times, the first time withdrew for 10 minutes, the second withdrew 7.5 hours, and finally came back just to say a word of dizziness. Not even in a coma. Monster. What a monster. Master, I just ran into Wang when I was hanging out, and Wang said that if you practice starlight projection magic, you can be a soul doppelganger, right? At this moment, Zhang Yang suddenly opened his mouth to pull Ji Yuyi's thoughts back. Ji Yu nodded. Magic is endless, it can continue to develop and derivate. You have to understand the meaning more. If you master the rules of magic, you can break the rules and create magic yourself. I see, Master, I will work hard, Zhang Yang said with a firm gaze. Okay, go rest, that's it for today, continue tomorrow. Ji Yu stood together and said lightly. Yes, Zhang Yang said and left the temple. The next day, early in the morning, Zhang Yang came to the Ancient One Holy Temple. Seeing Ji Yuyi, Zhang Yang first saluted, and then planned to sit on the spot. Ji Yuyi didn't want to stop Zhang Yang when he spoke. Astral projection will be practiced later. Ji Yuyi's words made Zhang Yang stop moving. Without a pause, Ji Yu stood up and said to Zhang Yang, Space magic, how have you realized recently? The most taboo thing about learning magic is that the mage slowly slacks his comprehension of old magic while learning a new magic. Furuchi saw that he showed his love for the new magic. But the power of space is a very strong magic, plus Zhang Yang still has the cosmic cube in his hand, and Ji Yuyi does not want Zhang Yang to slack off his research on the power of space. Okay, Zhang Yang said modestly. Master, when I recently realized the power of space, I combined teleportation magic and space power, and it seems that I have learned a new magic. Zhang Yang's words made Ji Yuyi a little surprised. After all, most mages are only able to strengthen their cultivation on existing magic. But there are very few people who can spontaneously realize new magic from existing magic. To put it bluntly, learning magic is hard enough. It is indeed very difficult to draw inferences from one example. However, Zhang Yang now has the idea of drawing inferences. Maybe in the near future, Zhang Yang will be able to do self-created magic after learning some basic magic. Thinking of this, Ji Yuyi was a little relieved and a little curious. Yes, Furuchi took out her long-lost small fan and said while fanning, let me see the new magic you realized. Zhang Yang nodded and said to Ji Yuyi, then the master will give more advice. After speaking, Zhang Yang raised his hand to cast magic. The energy gathered on Zhang Yang's hand, and soon, a magic array appeared on the ground. This is summoning array, air summon. Ji Yuyi was stunned and stopped the fan that was shaking in his hand. Originally, Furuchi had planned to teach him this magic in a few days. After all, this magic could also come in handy when necessary. I didn't want to. Zhang Yang actually realized it himself. This made Ji Yuyi sigh a little. If all the apprentices can have a flamboyant understanding, Kamar Taj is no one. Ji Yuyi thought to himself, and said to Zhang Yang, try it, the limit of what you can summon. It seemed that after hearing Ji Yuyi's words, the energy on Zhang Yang's body began to increase, and the light on the magic array on the ground also began to slowly increase. This call lasted about 5 or 6 minutes. Zhang Yang closed his eyes. Sweat still appeared on his forehead, but there was still no movement on the magic array. Furuchi slowed down the fan's movements. Normally, when a mage uses his own energy to cast summoning magic, the summoned item should appear on the magic array within a very short time. But the problem is that it has been so long since there is no response. According to the current situation, Zhang Yang is most likely unable to summon because he has not mastered the essence of summoning magic. If it doesn't work, don't force it. Thinking of this, Ji Yuyi couldn't help but say to Zhang Yang. However, Zhang Yang did not seem to give up because of Ji Yuyi's words, and was still using his own energy to summon. This time, Ji Yuyi didn't say anything, just quietly looked at Zhang Yang. About a while later, the light on Zhang Yang's hand began to disappear. As the light disappeared, the magic array on the ground slowly disappeared. Soon, everything returned to normal, and there was nothing unusual in the temple. It seems that the summoning failed. Ji Yuyi thought to himself, comforting Zhang Yang, it's okay. Being able to comprehend summoning magic through the combination of other magic is already a gratifying thing for Ji Yuyi. The failure of the summoning is also reasonable. Therefore, Ji Yuyi did not blame Zhang Yang, and planned to explain summoning to Zhang Yang first, and then let Zhang Yang practice astral projection magic again. I didn't want Ji Yuyi to just move her lips, and before the words could come or speak, her expression suddenly changed, and she noticed a hint of something wrong. The flamboyant summoning technique did not fail. On the contrary, he succeeded. What happened, and why did the sky suddenly go dark? Why, I don't feel very comfortable in my heart, as if something big is going to happen. Alarm, alarm, all mages, emergency collection, emergency collection. With the change of Ji Yuyi's complexion, Kamar Taj instantly became noisy. Outside the temple, the originally faint sky suddenly darkened at this moment. Moreover, it seems to be deepening towards the never-ending darkness. Panic sounded inside Kamar Taj at this moment. Kamar Taj. Most of the mages with magical energy felt a dark force that seemed to be approaching the earth. Or more accurately, closer to Kathmandu. For a time, the entire Kamar Taj entered the preparation stage. At this time, Ji Yuyi, who was located in the temple, did not look particularly good at Zhang Yang's face. Ji Yuyi hardly had to ask, just by this familiar darkness, he could guess. What is close to the earth? For some reason, Ji Yuyi, who had not had a rapid heartbeat for so many years, began to accelerate this time. Rare, some are not calm. Ji Yuyi, Zhang Yang, this is what you summoned. Zhang Yang, yes, master, I listened to your words and summoned to the limit. As for what the summoning came, I don't know. Ji Yuyi, Furuchi originally said this to know how far the flamboyant summoning magic could go. But now Ji Yuyi found that she had completely underestimated Zhang Yang's understanding. How long has it been? Zhang Yang directly broke the dimension and summoned Dormammu. This will be, Ji Yuyi is a little shocked, of course, more worried. Taking a deep breath, Ji Yuyi, I know, you summoned Dormammu. God knows what kind of mood Furuchi felt the moment he noticed the smell of Dormammu. Ji Yuyi sometimes felt that his apprentice was pitting her. Be confident and remove your feelings, you are plaguing her. To know, Ancient Yi was desperate to drive Dormammu out of the earth, and for centuries, Ancient One had seen Dormammu come and go. What she never expected was that this apprentice of hers actually summoned Dormammu. Now that Ji Yuyi thought about it, she had worked hard to drive Dormammu out. As a result, her apprentice summoned Dormammu to earth with a summoning magic. Ji Yuyi knew that Zhang Yang had just realized a summoning technique and could directly summon Dormammu. Ji Yuyi will not say that Zhang Yang summons to the limit. Others learn a summoning technique, starting with the item. This apprentice of hers poured well, crossed the item summoning, and directly summoned the life form. He also summoned Dormammu directly across dimensions. At this time, Ji Yuyi suddenly understood a little why Zhang Yang had just summoned for so long. Dare to be open, just played his limit, and forcefully pulled Dormammu into his summoning formation. After all, to summon a dark dimensional master, you can imagine how much magical energy it takes. This is good, and directly gives Dormammu a direct car to Earth. Originally, if Dormammu came to Earth, he had to perform rituals by his followers. Well, now the ceremony is saved. The one called is called a crisp and decisive. Ji Yuyi was stunned. Ji Yuyi suddenly remembered that when he asked Zhang Yang to open the portal before, Zhang Yang was already able to break the dimension and directly teleport to the dark dimension of Dormammu. Now that Zhang Yang has been studying for so long, the magical energy in his body says that he wants to summon Dormammu over, it seems that it is not impossible. Thinking of this, Ji Yuyi suddenly felt that Zhang Yang's understanding was really good to the outrageous realm. Dormammu. Hearing Ji Yuyi's words, Zhang Yang was also stunned. He had just used his energy to summon magical power to find his limits, but the problem was that Zhang Yang didn't know that he would summon Dormammu. Zhang Yang also did not use the designated summon, just the extreme summon. How did you summon Dormammu? I thought it was just a summoning technique, and it shouldn't be much of a problem. Now, I have to send Dormammu back quickly. Zhang Yang was thinking, but suddenly, he heard the panicked voices of the mages outside. It's Dormammu. Ji Yuyi was stunned, and quickly walked towards the door. Zhang Yang followed closely and also walked towards the door. At this moment, a huge strange-looking head appeared in the sky, surrounded by a circle of darkness. That was the last time Zhang Yang and Ji Yuyi saw Dormammu in the dark dimension. Oops. Ji Yuyi frowned, and couldn't help but whisper, staring at Dormammu in the sky above Kathmandu. And at this time, Dormammu in the sky was obviously a little confused. Dormammu, how did I get summoned to Earth? Looking down at the scenery below, Dormammu was quite convinced that he had been summoned, and had been summoned to Earth. And the summoner is, Dormammu set his sights on the flamboyance at Kamar Taj. Isn't this the kid who teleported to the dark dimension with Ji Yuyi last time? Isn't he supposed to be Ji Yuyi's apprentice? Why summon me over? Is it a rebellion and has decided to join the dark forces? Dormammu thought to himself, this will happen, and he finally reacted. Although I don't know what is going on, the problem is that now that he has come to Earth, if this is the case, then believers, give your strength and let me devour the whole Earth. Dormammu was ecstatic, and couldn't help shouting at Ji Yuyi, Ji Yuyi, didn't you let me come to Earth? Now, I'm here. Feel the power of darkness. Earth, fall. Dormammu said, his voice shaking the earth, and the whole earth seemed to tremble. And at the moment, Ji Yuyi's expression that watched Dormammu appear was not very good. Let's be angry, Ji Yuyi does have a point, she taught Zhang Yang obviously to let Zhang Yang deal with Dormammu. As a result, it was good, and it provoked Dormammu. Forget it, but the problem is that Zhang Yang's current ability is not enough to defeat Dormammu. You know, Dormammu's ability is a bonus in his dark dimension. Although Zhang Yang has a good understanding, with the little magic he is learning now, it is not enough to become Dormammu's opponent. After all, Zhang Yang doesn't know any strong attack magic yet. That's true. Ji Yuyi's expression was tight, he didn't need to think about it, soon it will be another vicious battle. Furuchi thought to himself, moved his hand, and seemed to be ready to start. At this moment, Ji Yuyi heard Zhang Yang on the side busy, Master, I will immediately cancel the summoning now. Koichi. I don't know why, Ji Yuyi felt that he had lived for so long and practiced for so long. It's rare to have emotions about something, and the state of mind is always peaceful. But now, Ji Yuyi always felt that he was blocked in his heart, and he couldn't speak. Can Dormammu be summoned when you call and summon away if you want to summon? It is the master of the dark dimension. What are you thinking? Zhang Yang, Ji Yuyi spoke, and was about to tell Zhang Yang about this, but Ji Yuyi had just opened his mouth to call out Zhang Yang's name, and when he turned his head, he saw that Zhang Yang was already using magic to cancel the summoning. That action. The speed and proficiency of the walking cloud flowing water is faster and more proficient than the previous use of summoning magic. It seems that Zhang Yang has practiced countless times before this. With the opening of the spell casting and the magic array, Ji Yuyi accidentally discovered something. That is, the breath of Dormammu seems to be slowly weakening, and the darkness of the entire sky is also slowly weakening. Until the end of Zhang Yang's spell casting, the sky gradually lit up, and Dormammu seemed to be gone. From being summoned to being sent away by Dormammu. The process in the middle is about 5 minutes. It's almost a little trance. Dormammu has just come. Master, okay, I just cancelled the summoning and sent Dormammu back. Zhang Yang said, wiping the sweat on his forehead. It seems that this time it should also consume a lot of his magical energy. Koichi. Mages. As a cultivator, Ji Yuyi-jun really hadn't been so thrilling for a long time. This flamboyance, before he couldn't get by with Odin, now he can't get by with Dormammu. Is he a big guy who can't offend the entire multiverse? How many magic has he only learned? That's it for this. It feels like if this is an attack-type magic, and the entire multiverse is estimated to be scared away when they see him. Really wait for himself to follow the Eternal Emperor. In order to flaunt this urine nature, it is estimated that Kamar Taj will become a terrifying place for the entire multiverse. Thinking about it like this, Ji Yuyi's head was about to start hurting again. You go back first, today's training is temporarily over here. Furuchi said and pressed his hand on his forehead. I don't know why, Ji Yuyi's head is a little hurt now. She felt she might need a break now. The flamboyant understanding is really good and a little scary. With that, Furuchi walked towards the temple. At this time, all the mages of Kamar Taj who had entered the preparation period looked at Dormammu, who suddenly appeared in the sky and suddenly disappeared, and a question mark appeared on everyone's face. Wang, who was standing in front of all the mages, was also a little strange, and said to Mordu, who was sitting in a wheelchair on the side, "Senior brother, Dormammu, he seems to be gone." Mordo, "Dormammu is gone. This is really a strange thing, why did it go?" Wang shook his head. "I don't know, maybe we should ask the Supreme Venerable." Mordo nodded. "It makes sense, you push me to the temple." Wang, "So senior brother, why did you come out in a wheelchair? In case of a real fight, are you going to give Dormammu a head? Feel the fear from the dark forces." With a roar, Dormammu was preparing to release the dark dimension to devour the earth and then absorb the souls of all the believers. At this moment, Dormammu suddenly felt that the scenery around him flashed, and before his open mouth was closed, he returned to the same place. "Dormammu, am I special? What the heck, why was I sent back again?" At this moment, Dormammu was a little confused in his dark dimension. It was as confused as when he was summoned to Earth. Dormammu felt he might need to calm down at the moment. Twice, exactly twice. Last time, that kid opened a portal and teleported to the dark dimension with Ji Yuyi, and before he could start, the kid ran away with Ji Yuyi again. This time, the kid summoned himself to Earth. Before he could start, he was sent back directly. What's that special? I'm a big guy in a dark dimension and now a tool man. Calling and lingering. Boy, seriously, you kind of don't send me away, you come to my dark dimension to fight me. Dormammu is a little angry at the moment, not some, very angry. He felt that his face was being pressed to the ground and rubbed at the moment. And the kind that rubbed with a clicking sound, grinding so hard that even the skin fell off. Dormammu was originally quite happy to see himself on Earth. After all, devouring Earth was something it had always wanted to do. If it weren't for the guy Ji Yuyi blocking it, the Earth would have been his. Here it goes. Before the words were finished, the Earth was not yet hot, and it was directly sent back to his hometown. It's excessive, it's really excessive. Is this really not giving me any face? You beasts are waiting for me, Ji Yuyi, and that kid. Soon, I will personally visit Earth. When the time comes, I will turn you all into my believers and let your souls follow me forever. Dormammu was furious, and the entire dark dimension couldn't help but tremble. Of course, Dormammu was angry, but at this moment, in the universe, there was another person who seemed to be a little happy. Asgard, Asgard, Asgard. Finally, Odin sighed with some emotion. When he just felt the power of Dormammu invading the Earth, Odin was a little shocked. Wondering how Dormammu came to Earth so quickly. According to the timeline of the universe, shouldn't Dormammu come to Earth later? Turn on cosmic perception, and Odin knows. Originally, it was Zhongyang who turned on the summoning magic and summoned Dormammu to Earth. To be honest, Odin was a little shocked at first. After all, Zhongyang is a disciple of Ji Yuyi and a person of Kamar Taj. It stands to reason that he should know Dormammu's Kamar Taj's old enemy, but why would he summon Dormammu directly to Earth? Later, until it was discovered that Zhongyang had sent Dormammu away again, Odin knew. 9 times out of 10, Zhongyang is practicing newly learned magic. Thinking of this, Odin suddenly felt a little lucky. I think that he himself was studying magic in Zhongyang, but he did not suffer less. The next time he learned magic, he used it in Asgard, and he didn't know what was wrong. Now finally, not for Asgard. Dormammu. Dormammu is good, the lord of that dark dimension, and it happens to be the master magic. He is also a bitter rival with Kamar Taj. Odin thinks it's okay. Imagining the look on Dormammu's face when he saw Dormammu summoned over, Odin couldn't help but laugh. Ancient One, Heaven's way is good reincarnation, you see who the sky spared. Kamar Taj, Sanctuary. Ji Yuyi sat on the low collapse and supported his head with his hands, and it took a long time before he came back to his senses. This suddenly was not an accident in the future that Ji Yuyi had observed, and Ji Yuyi was really caught off guard. Now that he thought about it, Ji Yuyi still felt a little shocked, and his heart beat a little faster than usual. Supreme Venerable. At this moment, Wang and Mordo walked in, looking serious. First saluted, and after the salute, Mordu, who was anxious, said to Ji Yuyi, "Supreme Venerable, just now." Halfway through the words, Ji Yuyi raised his hand and interrupted. Mention that Ji Yuyi's heart beats a little faster. It seems that both mages know about it. Ji Yuyi said, slowly got up, took a deep breath, and finally calmed his emotions. Yes, Wang and Mordo answered in unison. Could it be that there are still people in the entire Kamar Taj who do not know that Dormammu is coming and leaving? Master, why did Dormammu suddenly withdraw from the earth? Hasn't he always been ambitious and wants to invade the earth? Mordo was anxious and couldn't help but ask. It was Zhang Yang who sent Dormammu away. Until now, there is nothing to hide, Ji Yuyi said truthfully. It's just that it's okay not to say it, as soon as Mordo and Wang both opened their mouths at the same time. WTF? Zhang Yang sent Dormammu away. What do you mean? How long has Zhang Yankai been to Kamar Taj? It's 2 weeks. Can you fight Dormammu now? Can you send Dormammu away? This really shocked Wang and Mordo. To be precise, it was Zhang Yang who summoned Dormammu and sent it back. Seeing the expressions on the faces of Wang and Mordo, Ji Yuyi wanted to explain the reason for sending Dormammu away, and did not want to say this. Mordo and Wang were even more surprised. Summon magic. Oh my goodness, Zhang Yang can actually summon Dormammu. That's the biggest lord of the entire dark dimension. Zhang Yang can actually summon Dormammu. The most important thing is that he not only summoned, but also sent Dormammu away. No wonder that Dormammu, who covets the earth, suddenly appeared and then withdrew at the speed of light, daring to love. It's all about being more flamboyant. I don't know why, I always feel that Zhang Yang is playing Dormammu. Mordo and Wang looked at each other and couldn't help swallowing their saliva. This is a bit fierce. Can turn Dormammu around. Kamar Taj cannot find a second one except for Zhang Yang. But, Master, I said earlier that people like Zhang Yang can't stay in Kamar Taj, let alone on Earth. Mordo sat in a wheelchair and persuaded Ji Yuyi bitterly. The king on the side was a little dissatisfied after hearing this. I can't say that about senior brother. After all, Zhang Yang is the only person who can tease Dormammu in hundreds of years besides the supreme mage of Kamar Taj. Mordo, what Wang said makes sense. The most important thing is that he said it to Ji Yuyi's heart. Ji Yuyi's heart not is Dormammu, and Yunyu is also looking for talented people to deal with Dormammu. Now that Kamar Taj has finally appeared such a person, it is naturally impossible for Ji Yuyi to choose. Actually, this can't all be blamed on Zhang Yang, it's that I underestimate his talent too much. After a while, Ji Yuyi sighed and said. Indeed, Ji Yuyi has always underestimated the talent of Zhang Yang. Ji Yuyi thought that it was already a big deal to insert the word, genius, into Zhang Yang. Now I suddenly find that the word genius is a bit insulting and ostentatious. Master, it's okay, just get used to it. Wang said with empathy. The next time you let Zhang Yang use his ability, keep about 1/3, I estimate that it is about the same. If you are an ordinary apprentice, you can show what you have learned with all your strength so that the master can better identify mistakes and correct them. But it's not the same to be ostentatious. You know, when Wang and Berkeley taught him, they were not less confused by Zhang Yang, which is why they did not dare to teach Zhang Yang. The more I teach, the more I feel like I can't do anything. That feeling, really humiliated. Furuichi didn't speak, just uttered a syllable of, from his mouth. I don't know if Wang and Mordo thought too much or what, they always felt that Ji Yuyi's, word had a deep sigh. Supreme Venerable, aren't you worried about Zhang Yang's alliance with Dormammu? In general, there is a process for summoning magic to go from low to strong. The basis is the tearing dimensional space. Roughly speaking, this category will be counted in the category of space magic. Further up, you can summon it with spells or magic array items. Then there are creatures, and then creatures in different dimensions, or higher life forms to summon and pull to the present world. And the last step is to conclude. The general meaning can be understood as an alliance, or the signing of a contract that allows the summoner to connect with the summoner. After Mordo heard Ji Yuyi's obvious favoritism, Mordo said to Ji Yuyi. You know, it is easy to form an alliance between the summoner and the summoner. Especially the relationship between Zhang Yang and Dormammu. Dormammu wants to invade the earth, and Zhang Yang has a way for Dormammu to invade the earth, which is the most suitable for an alliance. After not wanting Mordo to finish this sentence, before Ji Yuyi could speak, Wang said a little dissatisfied, do you think Dormammu will ally with someone who teased him? Mordo, I found out, Everyone is partial and ostentatious, and my master brother is wasted. What's the point? It's useless to talk. It's not a big deal, the two mages can't quarrel over it. Ji Yi said lightly. These words made Mordo want to speak but couldn't speak. No, master, nothing that involves Dormammu is a big deal. Then Supreme Venerable, I will retreat first. After listening to Ji Yi's words, Wang Xingli retreated. Ancient nodded. Mordo on the side also saluted and planned to leave. However, just after Mordo finished his salute, he found one thing, that is, Wang himself walked away and did not push him. Wang, feed, hey, Mordo was a little embarrassed, and whispered to the king, who knew that the king didn't pay attention to him at all, and walked out of the temple without taking care of himself, leaving Mordo alone in the ancient temple to mess. For a while, Mordo was a little embarrassed. I looked at his ball-like hands wrapped and at the wheelchair he was sitting in. Mordo was very embarrassed and faced Ji Yi. Supreme Venerable, can you push me to the dormitory? Mordo's voice was so small that he couldn't wait to find a hole to drill into. The bravado of heavenly killing. Level 1 alarm. Level 1 alarm. There is an anomaly in Kathmandu, suspected alien creatures invading the Earth. All agents are ready. Go to Kathmandu, the fighters are ready. Check your weapons, run into the plane, dangerous moment, first-class disaster. At this moment, S.H.I.E.L.D. has become a pot of porridge. For this sudden unknown alien creature, everyone was panicked. Sir, Hill walked quickly to Nick Fury's office, his leather shoes stomped on the floor. Bang, just listening to the footsteps knew how anxious Hill was now. Something happened in Kathmandu. A head appeared in the sky, an unknown life form, suspected of being an alien, and the energy detection was super strong, very dangerous. At this time, Nick Fury was not very idle. Notify Agent Natasha in Kathmandu to prepare for battle, activate Plan A, and notify the Avengers of all successful battles. As soon as Nick Fury's words fell, Hill said, Stark may not come, he is now burned by Killian's desperate virus, and everyone else except Stark has been notified. Good, Nick Fury answered, who had already packed his things and got on the plane to the rooftop, followed by Hill, and the two had been discussing. How many agents are there in this operation? There were about 100 people on duty, departing in 5 batches, 3 groups have already departed, and there are still 2 batches left. We contacted the top of Kathmandu, but that place in Kathmandu is too backward, and their top level can't provide us with anything. Do you think this has something to do with Kamar Taj? Yes. According to Saul's explanation of Kamar Taj, I think that non-alien life forms chose to appear in Kathmandu, probably because of Kamar Taj. Otherwise, New York is in the best position. Nick Fury and Hill talked as they boarded the fighter, and as soon as they got on the plane started. A loud roar sounded, interrupting Hill and Nick Fury. At the moment, both of their faces were serious and heavy. Nick Fury didn't even have to think about the situation he was going to face next, a very capable alien, it's going to be a tough fight. Taking a deep breath, Nick Fury was ready for battle. At this moment, suddenly, Nick Fury received an updated piece of information. Alien lifeforms disappeared. Nick Fury, Hill, disappeared. Nick Fury frowned. Perhaps, the alien creatures are just hidden and we haven't detected them. Let's fly to the sky over Kathmandu first and observe for a longer time. Nick Fury said. After all, Nick Fury has never seen an alien invade Earth and return in less than 5 minutes. Yes, Hill said. 5 hours later, Hill, sir, for the time being, no abnormalities have been detected in Kathmandu, nor elsewhere. Nick Fury, wait a minute. 7 hours later, Hill, sir, we have been monitoring for 7 hours, and there is still nothing unusual, otherwise let's go back to New York first. Nick Fury, wait a minute. 9 hours later, Hill, sir, the American team said that Banner has fallen asleep, and no abnormalities have been detected for the time being. Nick Fury. At the moment, Nick Fury was a little confused. These aliens came to Earth to play. It only took 5 minutes in total and it was gone. I don't know why, Nick Fury always has a feeling of being played. Kamar Taj, Sanctuary. After Zhang Yang summoned Dormammu, Ji Yi pondered for a moment and decided to let Zhang Yang practice astral projection magic in the past few days. In this way, it is a good thing for Kamar Taj. Supreme Mage. As usual, Zhang Yang came to Ji Yi's temple, first saluted, and then waited for Ji Yuyi's study arrangement. Yesterday, seeing Zhang Yang, Ji Yuyi slowly spoke. Yesterday's matter, you don't have to pay attention to it, just learn magic well, it's just a small thing, it's just that in the future, for your own ability, you have to strengthen control. Control ability is also a good mage needs to learn. Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and couldn't help but say. Yes, Zhang Yang replied. Ji Yu nodded and instructed Zhang Yang about today's study arrangement. Okay, you continue to practice astral projection magic. After receiving the arrangement, Zhang Yang immediately sat down on the spot and withdrew the spirit body. This time, the speed of withdrawing the spirit body was obviously much faster than before. Let's see what progress you make today. Ji Yu Yipin sat down. If you are bored, you can go to Kamar Taj to wander for a while, but if you notice something abnormal, you need to come back as soon as possible. As soon as Ji Yuyi finished speaking, he closed his eyes and began to meditate. After yesterday Ji Yuyi stared at Zhang Yang for a full 7 hours, Ji Yuyi knew that Zhang Yang would not be able to come back for 7 hours today. So Furuchi also planned to practice his soul. Otherwise, it's too tiring to stare at Zhang Yang all the time. Seeing Ji Yuyi meditating, Zhang Yang shook his spirit body and went to Kamar Taj to wander. This wandering wandered from morning to night. Kamar Taj is lively during the day. But in the evening, the mages were in the dormitory, and there were no people. Zhang Yang felt a little bored after shaking in Kamar Taj for a while, and was about to do something, when he saw Wang Zheng walking towards Zhang Yang not far away. King. Zhang Yang hurriedly stopped Wang. It's good if it's not called. This call directly scared Wang almost out of his soul. You know, in the middle of the night, the black light is blinding, and suddenly a touch of soul appears in front of the king, which really makes the king a little uncomfortable. My God, Zhang Yang, why are you still here? Wang patted his frightened little heart and looked at Zhang Yang and couldn't help asking. You know, since early this morning, Wang Yang saw Zhang Yang's spirit body shaking inside Kamar Taj, and until now, Zhang Yang's spirit body is still outside. Well, I think I can stay a little longer. Zhang Yang explained to Wang. Can you stay a little longer? Zhang Yang, how long have you been learning astral projection magic? Wang couldn't help but ask Zhang Yang. Probably, today is the second day. Zhang Yang recalled carefully. Zhang Yang didn't say that it was okay. As soon as he said that, Wang immediately opened his mouth and couldn't close it. Groove. 2 days. The flamboyant spirit body has been walking freely outside for more than 12 hours. You know, Wang saw Zhang Yang's spirit body at 6 o'clock in the morning, and now it is 8 o'clock in the evening, and Zhang Yang's spirit body has not yet returned. It's a little scary. By the way, Wang, aren't you usually in the library at this time? What are you doing here? Wang Zheng was surprised, and Zhang Yang asked Wang and pulled Wang's thoughts back. Oh, there's something I have to go to the New York temple. Calm his mood, Wang Ru replied. Because Mordo was injured, Kamar Taj's affairs were temporarily managed by Wang. Just now, Wang received a request from the temple protector of the New York temple, saying that Dormammu's followers had become more rampant recently, so Wang decided to take a look. Well, let's go. Zhang Yang was about to leave after speaking, when Wang stopped Zhang Yang. By the way, Zhang Yang, do you want to go to the New York temple together? Wang was very clear that Ji Yuyi was now cultivating Zhang Yang as a future supreme mage. Otherwise, he would not have summoned Dormammu. Even Zhang Yang, and Ji Yuyi turned a blind eye and passed. That's why Wang proposed to let Zhang Yang go to the New York temple to see it, so that Zhang Yang could familiarize himself with it in advance. After all, with Zhang Yang's current ability, there are some things that should be known, or let him know. The New York temple. Zhang Yangon paused, then nodded, with a little excitement on his face. You know, Zhang Yang has not been to other places since he called Kamar Taj, only once when he fought against aliens before. It's good to go to the New York temple. Anyway, it's quite boring to wander around Kamar Taj. Let's go then, Wang said and walked forward. Zhang Yang followed Wang, and the two came to a temple. This temple was very strange, as if it had never been there. In the middle of the temple sits a long, narrow wooden table with a huge sphere suspended in the sky, which looks somewhat like the earth. Inside the temple, there are also 3 doors. The Eye of Agamotto created 3 powerful temples in the real city to protect the peace of the earth, and these 3 doors lead to the 3 temples. Wang introduced to Zhang Yang. This door is to the Hong Kong temple, this door is to the London temple, this door is to the New York temple, and the 3 temples constitute the protective network of our world today. Here's what you need to know. Wang said and opened the door of the New York temple. Follow me. If you feel a little weak, go through this door to Kamar Taj. Wang instructed Zhang Yang. As he spoke, the temple protector of the New York temple came over and saluted the king, Archmage. As if sensing the existence of Zhang Yang's spirit body, the temple protector of the New York temple looked stunned, and looked at Zhang Yang for a long time and asked, "Is this astral projection magic?" The temple protector of the New York temple had a trembling voice, and his tone was filled with disbelief. You know, astral projection magic has never been learned in Kamar Taj except for the ancient one. Seeing Zhang Yang wearing Kamar Taj's clothes, it must be Kamar Taj's mage. But his entire current state turned out to be a soul state, like a shadow. The only thing that can do this is astral projection magic. Thinking of this, how could the temple protector of the New York temple not be shocked? Don't make such a fuss, Alex. Wang glanced at Alex, the temple protector of the New York temple, and said lightly. Alex couldn't help but be surprised. God, is this fuss? The entire Kamar Taj, in addition to the supreme mage, Zhang Yang was the second person Alex had seen to learn astral projection magic. How could he not be surprised? However, Wang is an archmage, and since he said so, Alex naturally did not dare to say anything. He just looked at Zhang Yang and couldn't help but ask, "What's your name, this mage? I don't seem to have seen you at Kamar Taj. Have you been here for a long time?" There's a reason why Alex would ask that. To learn astral projection magic, it takes at least 5 years to cultivate the soul. 10 years to withdraw the soul from the body. To be like Zhang Yang, who had no problem talking to them in the temple for so long with a spirit body, he would have to practice for at least nearly 30 years. And with a good talent for magic. As a temple mage, Alex has been at Kamar Taj for 10 years. But I really had never seen Zhang Yang this mage. That's why Alex is strange. Oh, my name is Zhang Yang. I feel that I should have been coming to Kamar Taj for a long time. Zhang Yang couldn't help but say. You know, Zhang Yang stayed at Kamar Taj every day to learn magic, and did not go anywhere, naturally feeling that he had spent a long time in Kamar Taj. Alex was stunned. How long is it? Zhang Yang thought for a while and said, about 2 weeks. Alex was incredulous. So you've only been learning astral projection magic for 2 weeks? Zhang Yang shook his head. 2 days. Alex, what, 2 days? Are you serious about this? I feel as if you were bragging. Alex listened to Zhang Yang's words, and his mouth instantly turned into a zero-shaped one. Surprise is true, but disbelief is also true. Alex stared at the open spirit body seriously for a long time, and after a while, he slowed down before facing the king. Archmage, this. Alex hesitated to say the questioning words. After all, Zhang Yang was brought over by Wang, and his identity is not clear. Moreover, Zhang Yang looks quite strong. Isn't it normal to learn in 2 days? Wang collapsed with both hands and shrugged his shoulders to Alex. The expression on his face was a natural expression. You know, for Zhang Yang, it is indeed normal to learn a magic in 2 days. It's just that after Wang said this, Alex's whole person was not good. What did the Archmage just say? Is it normal to learn astral projection magic in 2 days? Profound. Oh my God. The Archmage should not have been caught in the door in his brain. Do you think this is magic that any cat or dog can learn? This is the astral projection secret method known as one of the secret methods of Kamar Taj perverted level. Alex watched Wang calmly walk towards the temple with the open spirit body, and the whole person stayed in place and felt numb. The mind is full of question marks. At this time, Zhang Yang, who was walking side by side with Wang, couldn't help but say to Wang, actually, I learn magic quite quickly, right? Wang shrugged his shoulders and shook his head indifferently, no. Zhang Yang smiled and said, I can feel it. In the end, Zhang Yang has been coming to Kamar Taj for 2 weeks, and gradually he can realize that his magical talent is indeed much better. Zhang Yang's words made Wang couldn't help but be stunned, and then said to Zhang Yang, so are you complacent about this? Zhang Yang shook his head and said, No, for this reason, I am working harder to learn more magic until one day I can defeat the supreme mage. Zhang Yang's words made Wang stop, and he looked at Zhang Yang with some disbelief. You want to defeat the supreme mage? Zhang Yang looked at Wang puzzled. Is there any problem? Wang, it's fine, but aren't you worried that if your idea is known by the supreme mage, will she not teach you magic? Zhang Yang shook his head after hearing this. Of course not, because what she is doing now is teaching me how to defeat her. That's her wish, and I guess I'm right. Listening to Zhang Yang's words, Wang smiled with relief. It seems that you have learned something more important than magic during your 2 weeks of practice at Kamar Taj. Zhang Yang smiled faintly, and was about to speak, but suddenly, Alex stepped forward in 3 or 2 steps. A head was placed between Wang and Zhang Yang, stretched out to look at Wang and asked, Archmage, is it really normal to learn astral projection magic in 2 days? Wang and Zhang Yang looked at each other and said in unison, yes. This made Alex froze for an instant, and said without thinking. No way, is my magical talent not enough? Or has the average talent of Kamar Taj been pulled up recently? Did I stay in New York for too long and never return to Kamar Taj so I didn't know about it? After learning magic for more than 10 years, or is it normal to listen to astral projection magic for the first time and learn it in 2 days? And the most important thing is that the Archmage actually thinks this is normal. Alex's mind was messed up again. At this moment, Wang's voice sounded in Alex's ears. Alex, tell me about the situation, how is New York? The king's words pulled Alex's thoughts back, and the matter of magic could be talked about later. After all, the matter of Dormammu was more important. Well, according to our recent observations, there are many mages in New York who have become followers of Dormammu, and it turns out that they only make trouble behind their backs to incite the mages to believe in Dormammu. But recently, Dormammu's followers have begun attacking our mages practicing in New York. Alex reported the situation. Attack. Why did the followers of Dormammu attack the mage? Alex's report made Wang a little puzzled. It stands to reason that the most Dormammu should be to incite the mage to believe in him, and the more followers Dormammu has, the stronger his power will be. But why did Dormammu's followers start attacking the mage? Now Wang couldn't figure it out. When did this situation start? Alex said, probably, 3 days ago. 3 days ago. Wang suddenly realized. I probably know the situation you said, and I will go back and report to the Supreme Venerable later. As soon as the words fell, suddenly, Wang's face changed. It seems that something is going to happen in New York tonight, and I noticed that something is wrong. The king said, directly opened the portal and left the temple. Flamboyant, Alex followed suit. As soon as he walked out of the portal, Zhang Yang saw a man wearing red armor fighting with a man with red light all over his body on an abandoned building not far away. Oh, it seems that Iron Man is in trouble again. After seeing what happened clearly, Wang couldn't help but shrug, and only then did he breathe a sigh of relief, just not a believer in Dormammu. Iron Man. Zhang Yang was stunned, and seemed to hear a familiar name. Yes, don't you know him? He is quite famous in Country M and is a superhero. Wang said to Zhang Yang. I've heard of it, Zhang Yang said to the point. How could the Avengers character Zhang Yang not know, especially Iron Man, Tony Stark? That's the main figure of the Avengers. But if you want to say that you know, it's too reluctant. After all, Zhang Yang has only seen him on the screen before. Thinking like this, Zhang Yang couldn't help but raise his head and said to the king, which one is Iron Man? Wang. Should it be the one who has torn off the armor by hand now? Zhang Yang. Who is he fighting with? Wang. Killian. A person who has developed the desperate virus himself is said to obtain superpowers after drinking it, and you can understand that this superpower is high temperature. Zhang Yang. So now it seems that Iron Man can't beat that man. Wang. The high temperature of 3000 degrees Celsius is enough to melt Iron Man's suit. Iron Man will definitely not be able to fight. It looks very dangerous. If he is not careful, he may lose his life. Zhang Yang. Aren't people like Killian generally called villains, and Kamar Taj doesn't care? Wang. Unless there are creatures from different dimensions invading the Earth, very powerful, such as Dormammu, or the last time the Zeteri army invaded, Kamar Taj will make a move, and the contradictions within the other planets are generally solved by the Avengers themselves. Of course, we will watch from the sidelines. Zhang Yang. Watch on the side. Wang. look how things go, we don't care, but we have to know these things. Kamar Taj is not like the Avengers, we need to hide, otherwise the people of Earth will be in trouble once they know that there is Kamar Taj in this place. There are many people who remain hostile to unknown and powerful things. Wang said and sighed. It's a little reasonable. Listening to Wang's words, Zhang Yang couldn't help nodding. At this moment, Zhang Yang looked at Wang as if he remembered something and couldn't help asking, Wang, how did you know that something happened in this place? Perception magic is to use your own magical energy to perceive things in the outside world, perceive some dangers in the outside world, and some powerful people can even open the process of sensing magic to perceive everything that happens. Wang explained to Zhang Yang. Zhang Yang nodded. It seems that today I went out with Wang to receive the goods, and I can learn a little magic. Zhang Yang said, and then listened to the king. It's not that the believers of Dormammu are making trouble, let's go first, the desperate virus will solve the matter of Iron Man himself. The king said and planned to leave. At this moment, I suddenly only listened to the sound of bang. Before Zhang Yang, Wang and Alex could react, they saw a man in a steel suit appear in front of the three. No, more precisely, it was smashed in front of the three. This man is Iron Man, Tony Stark. King. Publicity. Alex. Looking at Tony Stark who suddenly appeared, the three were a little confused. At this time, Tony Stark was obviously taken aback, and saw him pointing at Zhang Yang and saying, oh, my god, you shouldn't be a ghost, right? Tony Stark now wondered if he was blinded by Killian, or had he hit a ghost in the middle of the night. As the genius inventor of Country M, a man with a wealth of enemies, Stark has always told himself to believe in science. Even when the Zetarii army invaded before, a guy named Thor claimed to be a god, Stark always thought that the guy was just a superhuman from an alien planet with a hammer. God. Ghost. Stark had never trusted only his armor and the weapons he made. But when Stark saw Zhang Yang's spirit body, Stark suddenly felt confused. He actually hit a ghost. Wang, what should we do if this happens? Looking at Stark who fell from the sky, Zhang Yang couldn't help but look at Wang and asked. Go, Wang said simply. As soon as the words fell, Wang raised his hand without hesitation to cast the portal, and at this moment, a guy with flames all over his body fell from the sky and smashed a punch between Wang and Stark. Boom! A loud bang. This punch smashed the ground abruptly, and black smoke was still emitting from the crack. The aftermath shook King, Stark, and Alex to the ground. Zhang Yang was shaken by this punch and his spirit shook and loomed. And it was none other than Stark's nemesis, Killian. When Killian arrived, his men also ran over, about a dozen people, all of whom seemed to be desperate virus patients. That is, a supernatural who drank the same potion called the desperate virus and obtained high-temperature superpowers. This is trouble. Wang frowned. The trouble he was referring to was not because these desperate virus patients were troublesome, but because Zhang Yang was now in trouble with the spirit body. You know, Zhang Yang has only practiced the spirit body for the second day, although he has been able to leave the body for more than 12 hours. But the problem is that the current spirit body is still very fragile, not aggressive, and extremely easy to be scattered. Zhang Yang must be able to use spirit bodies to release magic in order to be aggressive, but now, Zhang Yang obviously does not have this ability, so Wang will say trouble. Stark, this is the rescuer you called. 2 middle-aged uncles, plus a touch of soul. Wait, soul, what the hell? Killian seemed to react at this moment, staring at Zhang Yang, showing an incredulous expression like Stark. Hell, let's go. Alex opens the portal. Worried about Zhang Yang's safety, Wang does not want to fight. Moreover, Kamar Taj should not care about Killian's matter, so the king said to Alex busily, wanting to send the open spirit body away. Not wanting to hear Wang say that he was leaving, Killian's eyes suddenly turned fierce. Want to go? Call you people or ghosts, don't think about running today. Killian said, smashing directly towards Wang with his fist with fire, and Killian's men on the side also rushed up. Alex's halfway portal was interrupted. Seeing this, Stark also threw himself into the battle, and several people began a melee. Alex, no matter what, you must protect the open spirit body. The king said as he confronted Killian. Good, Alex replied while battling the desperate virus patient. He slowly approached Zhang Yang, as if he wanted to protect Zhang Yang's spirit body. Zhang Yang, if you can go, go quickly. When Alex finished speaking, the king commanded Zhang Yang. Originally, Wang and Alex both wanted to open the portal, because now fighting or not is secondary, and the most important thing is to be able to let Zhang Yang's spirit body return to Kamar Taj safely. But there are too many people on the other side, and the most troublesome thing is that each of them has a high temperature, and each of them looks tall, and they seem to be very proficient in martial arts, pressing step by step, beckoning dead hands, and their strength is amazing. Especially their speed is not slow. Wang wanted to cast a spell, but there were many people on the other side, and the most critical problem was that Wang found that these desperate virus patients not only brought high temperatures but also had strong self-healing ability. Even if they are injured, they will heal quickly, and it is too difficult to kill them all at once. You know, the portal is a good escape artifact, but the biggest problem is that the portal takes time to open, much slower than ordinary magic. Even an archmage like Wang takes a certain amount of time to open. The king didn't have enough time and space and couldn't free his hand, so he couldn't cast portal magic at all, and could only fight them with melee magic. Alex faced the same problem. There were too many people on the other side. Alex not only had to deal with these people, but also protect his open spirit body from being burned or dispersed by the heat of these people. Unable to worry so much at once, Alex was a little overwhelmed, so he simply cast the Shield of Seraphim. A huge yellow magic shield blocked the left side of the open spirit body, and it resisted the attack of the desperate virus patient. Seeing this, the king on the side also cast the Shield of Seraphim, blocking Zhang Yang's right, and the shield combined to form a natural protective barrier around Zhang Yang's spirit body. You must know that the Shield of Seraphim is Kamar Taj's strongest defensive magic, even if it is no problem to withstand a spaceship, let alone resist the attacks of these desperate virus patients. With the Shield of Seraphim, Wang and Alex relaxed a little. It's just that they need to use the magic energy in their bodies to constantly charge the Shield of Seraphim, which makes the two who have just relaxed suddenly tense their nerves again. Oh my god, why are there so many people? Looking at the desperate virus patients who surrounded them at the moment and wanted to break the defense, Wang couldn't help but exclaim. He never thought that he was just coming to see what was happening in New York. You will be involved in this dispute. Also mistaken by Killian for Stark's accomplice. So, why did Stark fall in front of us? If he doesn't fall over, won't nothing be done? Wang couldn't help but say. At this moment, a voice came from Wang's ear. Seriously, what are you guys? Magic. And what devices do you have? Also, why does this person only have a touch of soul? Is he a ghost? This is. Wang turned his head and was immediately helpless. It turned out to be Tony Stark. So why are you in our magic array? Wang was surprised. You know, Wang now wants to leave this ghost place early. He didn't want to get involved in the battle between Stark and Killian. Can I say I just surrounded me here while beating you too? Oh, magic array. So you guys are magic. So this one next to me, is it a ghost? Stark seemed to be a curious baby at this time, and the king who asked all kinds of questions was suddenly stunned. Knowing that this kung fu was going down with Stark, Wang immediately said to Alex, "Can you find a way to open the portal and go?" Alex wanted to cry without tears. I can't free my hand. You know, Alex is now like the king, casting the Shield of Seraphim and opening the portal with his hand. Now Wang Lang is gone. Zhang Yang is a spirit body, and if he can't cast magic, Stark can't even do it. This means that 4 people on their side are equivalent to 2 people, but there are more than a dozen people on the other side. How can you fight this? For a while, Wang had a little headache, so why did he bring Zhang Yang here? If something happened to him and was discovered by the Supreme Venerable, wouldn't he be finished? Thinking of this, Wang was a little panicked. The most important thing is that Wang felt that Alex's magical energy was somewhat insufficient. You know, using magic energy to support magic is extremely energy consuming. As a temple protector, it was already good that Alex could last so long. Oh my god, can anyone open the portal? Wang Wei sighed a little uncomfortably, never expected that an accident would actually let Wang be stuck here. Just as the king was hesitating what to do, suddenly, he saw Stark exclaim, "Oh my god." This made Wang a little annoyed, and he frowned at Stark and reprimanded, "What are you shouting ghostly now?" However, before the words were finished, a red light was seen in the afterlight. At this light, Wang was stunned and turned his head to look at Zhang Yang, and Alex also looked at Zhang Yang at the same time. If the two of them were not mistaken, at this time, the open spirit body seemed to be casting magic. King, Alex, God, Zhang Yang only learned astral projection for 2 days. Is it now possible to cast magic with spirit bodies? For a moment, both Wang and Alex couldn't help but open their mouths. And the expression on Stark's face on the side was not much better than the two. Because Stark couldn't believe what he saw in front of his eyes anyway, a touch of soul, unexpectedly, the red light began to appear on the body, and there was also an appearance under the feet, what the thing is called, magic array, yes. Magic array. Oh my god, is he crazy? Could it be that he's watched Harry Potter too much lately? Although Stark didn't know what Zhang Yang was doing, Wang and Alex did. Zhang Yang, this Nima, is to open the summoning technique. At this moment, Wang was a little panicked. Could it be that Zhang Yang wanted to summon Dormammu over again to fight? No, Zhang Yang, don't do this again. How can Dormammu come and help you fight? Wang thought to himself. At this time, a huge flash of light appeared on Zhang Yang's spirit body, and in the next second, in the summoning array not far away, a somewhat strange and familiar figure appeared. My mother. After seeing the person summoned by Zhang Yang, Wang and Alex couldn't help but exclaim. God, I'm not mistaken, what kind of Odin is this? Chapter 91. Alex, Archmage, this seems to be the legendary god King Odin. Wang, it's not like, he is. Stark, Odin, father of the gods in Norse mythology, is a white-haired old man in pajamas. Wang, I advise you to shut up. Wang looked at Odin, who appeared in front of them at this moment, with a confused face, and couldn't help but gasp. Zhang Yang has recently been learning summoning, and Wang can understand that Zhang Yang remembered summoning in a dangerous situation. After all, the power of space is more difficult to use than summoning. But the problem is, Zhang Yang, isn't it just to hit a dozen desperate virus patients? Didn't you summon Odin to get a stir? Moreover, do you think Odin will help you as a thug? Who is he? But he is Odin. What's more, looking at Odin now, he doesn't even wear a robe. It wouldn't be, while resting, I was summoned by you, right? As Wang was thinking, he saw that the group of desperate virus patients who had originally surrounded the Shield of Seraphim had shifted their attention to Odin's body at this moment. Who is this? Why is there an extra old man out of thin air? Just now they said something in it, what to summon, Odin or something. Presumably this should be the rescuer summoned by the soul. What is Odin? Killian consulted with his men, and seemed to be a little puzzled by the person who suddenly appeared. It is speculated that it may most likely be a rescuer called by Stark's gang, which will make Killian angry. Odin, it is useless today even if God comes. Whoever helps Tony Stark will become a revenant in my hands. Killian snorted coldly and shouted at Odin, old man, you'd better get out of here. Otherwise, you'll be buried with Stark. His words scared Wang and Alex a lot. Dear mother. Standing before you is Odin, the king of gods. Swallowing their saliva, Wang and Alex couldn't help wiping the sweat on their foreheads, watching Odin's expression gradually turn serious, and they knew in their hearts that something was wrong. At this time, Odin is afraid that he will really help Zhang Yang fight. This group of desperate people dared to provoke Odin. Ignorance is really terrible. Wang, I think I have to go back to Kamar Taj quickly. At this moment, Zhang Yang on the side whispered to Wang. The meaning of his words was obvious, and he felt weak. After all, Zhang Yang had only practiced for the second day, and being able to do this had already shattered Wang and Alex's understanding of magic. Run, yes, run. The Ancient One Temple. Alex, open the portal to the temple. Zhang Yang didn't remind him. Wang really forgot to run. This god is so scary. Alex seemed to react as well, and quickly raised his hand to open the portal while no one was paying attention. As soon as the portal opened, the three of them walked into the portal almost immediately, leaving Stark standing there alone. At this moment, they heard a majestic and angry voice, wait for ignorant mortals. As soon as these words fell, I only listened to the sound of boom. Odin raised his palm, golden light appeared, and energy exploded. But in the blink of an eye, the pile of desperate virus patients, including Killian, dissipated into ashes. At the same time, Alex closed the portal, patted his chest and couldn't help but whisper, it's so dangerous, just now. After speaking, Alex closed his eyes, turned his head and was about to talk to the king, not wanting to be okay if he didn't turn his head. As soon as he turned his head, Alex went crazy. Ancient One, Supreme Mage. Wait, just said where to teleport. Ancient One Sanctuary. Alex froze and hurriedly saluted, Supreme Venerable. The king on the side seemed to have reacted and saluted Ji Yu Shing, Supreme Venerable. Quote question mark quote. Ji Yu, you three, why did you come together? Alex, aren't you supposed to be in the New York temple? Wong, aren't you supposed to be in the library? Also, what happened to that golden light outside the portal just now? I felt Odin's energy. Ji Yu, who had just come from the Eternal Emperor at this moment, looked at Wong, Alex, and Zhang Yang with a confused expression. Just now the three of them seemed to have come from inside the portal. King, Alex, Master, this matter, it's a long story. If I say that Zhang Yang turned Odin into his thug, do you believe this? Looking at the ground that was collapsed by his own palm, he looked at Zhang Yang's group who opened the portal and slipped away. Odin suddenly realized from his confusion. He is the Lord of the Nine Domains, the Father of the Gods. Was summoned by Zhang Yang, and inexplicably became his thug. Helped him solve a bunch of mortal. Just before Zhang Yang summoned Odin, Odin felt a change in his body, and most likely he felt that he needed a long sleep. Odin usually has a hard time resting. But every time you rest, you get a long sleep. This long sleep can help Odin to strengthen the divine power in his body. Feeling that his divine power was constantly passing, Odin knew that this was most likely because Ragnarok was approaching. Odin was planning to sleep for a while before this to accumulate the last power in his body. It's just that Odin didn't think of it. At this time, Zhang Yang came to be a demon again. Oh wicked beast, makes me feel uneasy before going to bed. Odin originally thought that after Zhang Yang summoned Dormammu to Earth last time, he would probably have to do it with Dormammu in the future. As a result, he was not happy for even a day, and Zhang Yang attacked him again. This time, Zhang Yang did not provoke Asgard, but directly provoked him. No, what do you mean by bragging? I'm a god king. To fight mortals on Earth, do you need to call me? You can call me that stupid son. Isn't he in Kamar Taj? If it weren't for the weakness of his divine power, the limit would come, and Odin would really have ordered Zhang Yang to kill this dog day. Can you still let Zhang Yang summon himself over? Think of him as a god king. Even if he comes to the earth, he should be wearing a golden armor and riding the god horse Leslepnes. Armed with the eternal spear, followed by 3,000 heroic warriors, descend as a king. Now, after being publicized like this, Odin came to Earth barefoot in his pajamas. Odin's angry. Really, if he didn't hit the palm just now, Odin felt that he could die on the spot. Take a deep breath. Odin decided to endure. Seriously, it's not that he wants to endure, it's his body reminding him that he must go to sleep. Seriously, flamboyant, I advise you to be kind. Otherwise, when I wake up, Asgard and Kamar Taj will have a fight. Taking a deep breath, Odin roared, Haydarim. This sound shook the entire divine domain 9 sessions. After a while, a colorful light fell from the sky and directly picked Odin away. At this time, Odin did not notice that there was still one person left where he had just stood, Tony Stark. At this time, Tony Stark's whole person was frightened in place. He was covered in torn armor. Stunned, he watched Odin disappear. Just now, he saw that old man slap down, directly destroying Killian and his group. The big hole in the ground was still a reminder that everything that happened before Tony Stark was real. Tony Stark was a little confused and his brain was a little messy, and he felt that he had to sort out his thoughts at the moment. According to what Tony Stark heard and saw, the soul before summoned this old man named Odin, and then Odin destroyed more than a dozen people, including Killian, with one palm. No, what is the origin of that soul? Isn't Odin the father of the gods? Why did that soul summon Odin? Is Odin his subordinate? What did they just say about Kamar Taj? That is, that soul is from Kamar Taj. Is that soul the boss of Kamar Taj? Is Odin also Kamar Taj's? Tony Stark seemed to suddenly remember that Thor didn't say that his father's name was Odin. Tony Stark felt that his mind was completely disorganized, and his mind was full of question marks. Is there magic in this world? Tony Stark stood in place, thinking about it for half an hour, until Nick Fury and the American team arrived and saw the sluggish Tony Stark. Oh my God, what just happened here? Why is there such a big hole in the ground? Looking at everything in front of him, Nick Fury was a little surprised and couldn't help asking. He seems to have said this to Stark, but Stark did not take Nick Fury. This made Nick Fury couldn't help but step forward and ask Stark, "Stark, what just happened? What do you see?" Only then did Stark react and said to Nick Fury, "Do you believe that there are souls in the world? And that soul can magic? Do you know that place in Kamar Taj? Is it on Earth?" Stark's gaze still had shock in it. Kamar Taj. Hearing Stark mention this name, Nick Fury suddenly became alert. He looked at Stark, and seemed to be able to detect from Stark's words that Kamar Taj's people had just arrived. "I know Kamar Taj," Thor said. "What kind of magical sanctuary it is? Did the people from Kamar Taj just come?" Nick Fury asked tentatively to Stark. Stark looked at Nick Fury and said, "You won't believe it, there was just someone from Kamar Taj. Oh, no, a touch of soul to be exact, he summoned Odin with magic." "But Nick Fury, do you think there really is magic in this world? Aren't you curious? Magic. This thing sounds incredible. Kamar Taj, Sanctuary. Supreme Venerable, if it's okay, I'll step down. Supreme Venerable, if it's okay, I'll go back to the New York temple first." The king and Alex said these words almost tremblingly, and when the words fell, they planned to leave as if they were running for their lives. The king stays, Alex goes back to the New York temple first. Ji Yi said calmly. Wong couldn't help but tremble when he said this. It is a blessing and not a curse, it is a curse that cannot be avoided. What a crime. Yes, Wong said very reluctantly. On the side, Alex glanced at the king with sympathy, and then looked at the Zhongyang who had returned to the body of the spirit body. I couldn't help but think that this mage named Zhongyang was so powerful. Can actually summon the god King Odin. When did Kamar Taj come to such a powerful character? Thinking about it, Alex walked out of the temple. On the side, Zhongyang also slowly opened his eyes, and I have to say that it took Zhongyang some energy to summon Odin just now. You go back first, today's progress is not bad, but you have delayed a little. Your body is weak right now. Ji Yi said to Zhongyang. After you go back, remember to practice astral projection more. Wong listened to it properly, and his scalp was really numb. You know, Zhongyang is not bad. Simply perverted. He was only 2 days old, and he was already able to use spirit bodies to cast magic. Yes, master. Zhongyang shook his head and left the Ancient One temple in a daze. As soon as Zhongyang and Alex left, Ji Yi turned to Wong and said, I think you should have something to say to me. She walked over to the tea table and poured a pot of tea, looking unusually calm. In fact, Ji Yi can know everything by using his own ability, but the problem is that since Wong is here, Ji Yi does not want to make such trouble. Supreme Venerable, actually, I just took Zhongyang to the New York temple. After hesitating, Wong said to Ji Yi. Then I met Killian and Stark, that is, the desperate virus incident, and when we left, they found us, and then they fought, and Zhongyang summoned Odin, and then it became what you see. Wong has tried to be as ambiguous as possible. There are some details that Wong feels that if it cannot be convex, it will not be convex, and the focus is only on Zhongyang summoning Odin. Sure enough, immediately afterwards, Ji Yi said to the king, Zhongyang's spirit body can use magic. Wong breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. Yes, Supreme Venerable. Wong was a little melancholy. It only took him 2 days to use the spirit body to cast magic. Ji Yi shook his head. To be precise, it is 36 hours. Because yesterday afternoon he went back to rest. Wong, Supreme Venerable, are you saying this a bit of a blow? Ji Yi sighed. That's not true, Wong, you also have strengths. Wong, is it? Ji Yu nodded. You are strong in having a talented junior disciple. Wong originally thought that he would be able to use the spirit body to cast magic in 2 days to divert Ji Yu's attention, so that he would be less scolded, but he didn't want to. Ji Yu struck Wong this blow abruptly. It's good not to blow, such a blow. Wong didn't panic, but this sense of loss suddenly came up again. Supreme Venerable, if nothing happens, I will go to the library first. Sighing, Wong said with some sadness. No rush. However, Ji Yuyi did not let Wang leave, but said to Wang, "Have a cup of tea, let's talk. You took Zhongyang away from Kamar Taj, and let the Avengers discover Kamar Taj, and finally alarmed the God King Odin." Wang originally felt that he had been hit, at least exempted from Ji Yuyi's punishment. This king can be regarded as knowing, he has not less punishment, but also a bunch of more blows. Shield, New York. "Sir, Stark is hospitalized." Walking into Nick Fury's office, Hill said to Nick Fury, "We tested the scene last night and did not detect any explosive energy. Perhaps what Stark said is true." Hill's words made Nick Fury react a little. "So, you also think that a soul summoned Odin, and then Odin slapped and killed Killian and the others, so he left that big hole in the ground. Then Kamar Taj should not be a magical mecha, but hell." Nick Fury's words were tinged with mockery. Seriously, what Stark said to Nick Fury last night, he only believed half of it. That's where Kamar Taj people appeared. As for what soul is the father of the gods or something, Nick Fury feels completely. There are superpowers, and mutants in this world, and Nick Fury thinks it's normal. After all, humans later studied that in fact, whether they are mutants or superhumans, they are all created by genetic mutations. To be precise, it is to change genetic cells so that they produce superpowers, which is somewhat related to genetics, anyway. But the soul thing, Nick Fury felt a little, especially what kind of magic. In Nick Fury's eyes, Kamar Taj may be a superhuman academy like X Academy, to be precise, there is a group of people with superpowers. So that's why Nick Fury has always wanted to find Kamar Taj. Such a group of powerful superhumans exist on this earth, but as a security agency, they don't know it, which really makes Nick Fury feel at ease. "Is there any result over there?" Nick Fury looked at Hill and asked. Hill shook his head. "It's been a week, and I still haven't found it. The location you said, she went, found nothing, and when she asked, the local people said that Kamar Taj was just a legend." Sighing, Hill said, "Do we need to bring Natasha back?" Nick Fury shook his head, pulled out a stack of materials from the drawer and looked at Hill and asked, "Do you think these are all coincidences?" Hill was stunned, picked up the information on the table and looked at it for a while. All about the turmoil around the world in the last 2 weeks is written above. The Himalayas were cut down, the army of Zatari suddenly withdrew, the aliens invaded and left, and Kathmandu was split by the holy light. All things, the source is Nepal, Kathmandu. One thing is a coincidence, two things may not be a coincidence. I think Kamar Taj must be somewhere in Kathmandu, but we haven't found it yet." Nick Fury said seriously to Hill. "Well, so what would you do if you found it?" Hill sighed. Nick Fury decided that things in general, there was no way to change. So, Hill can only ask Nick Fury's next plan. Negotiation. Nick Fury simply uttered 2 words. This made Hill understand. What Nick Fury is talking about negotiation is. If we can talk about it, if we can't talk about it, maybe Kamar Taj will become a place like X school and be regulated. There's no way around it. After all, if Nick Fury didn't care, the top management would also intervene in this matter. Kamar Taj, the ancient temple. After resting for the night, the next day, as usual, Zhongyang arrived at the ancient temple early. "Master," yawned and greeted Furuchi with a bang. "I heard that you were already able to use spirit bodies to release magic yesterday." Ji Yuyi asked to Zhongyang. Zhongyang was a little embarrassed, touched his head, and faced Ji Yuyi. "Master, you already know about last night's incident." Ji Yu leaned over and poured a cup of tea to Zhongyang. "Drink a cup of tea when you get up in the morning to warm your stomach." Zhongyang nodded, looking at the cup. It was still chrysanthemum tea. Zhongyang will be embarrassed again. I don't know why, but as soon as he saw the chrysanthemum tea for a while, Zhongyang thought of Saul. "Indeed, I haven't seen Thor for a long time. Do you know why you offended the God King, but he never bothered you?" Pouring the tea, Ji Yuyi looked at Zhongyang and couldn't help but say. Zhongyang shook his head. About this, Zhongyang really didn't know very well. You know, Zhongyang heard the king say before that Odin is the God King, the father of the gods, and when he was young, his temper was very similar to Thor. In this way, Zhongyang has indeed offended Odin many times. But Odin never seemed to blame himself. This made Zhongyang a little surprised, but Zhongyang didn't want to. After all, Zhang Yang knew a little about this universe. It seemed that only Dormammu and Asgard, so every time he cast a spell, he inexplicably thought of these two places in his mind. I don't know. Zhang Yang shook his head. Because of Ragnarok. Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and said, in this multiverse, no one is immortal, and everyone will perish, even gods like Odin. This kind of annihilation, according to the world, is death. But, in fact, we just went to another universe that is bigger than the multiverse, which you can understand as ascension. Ji Yuyi's words made Zhang Yang understand a little. Then according to what you mean, Master, it is, Odin is dying. Furuichi took a sip of tea and said, you can think so. Zhang Yang will be considered understood. It seems that Odin didn't have time to take care of himself, so he didn't blame himself. However, why did Ji Yuyi say this to himself? This will, Zhang Yang is a little confused. Are you wondering why I'm telling you this? Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and couldn't help asking. Zhang Yang nodded. Indeed, he was just curious about this. Asgard and Kamar Taj have always had a good relationship, and I tell you this to tell you that if you really get to that point, perhaps, you can help Saul. Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and said lightly. So, Master, you mean, let me help Thor? Zhang Yang was a little puzzled. According to Zhang Yang's understanding of Ji Yuyi should not care about this. Kamar Taj's management model is the same as Ji Yuyi's nature. In addition to the big thing that the Earth was invaded by alien creatures, other things can be ignored, but this time, Ji Yuyi will let Zhang Yang help Asgard in the future, which makes Zhang Yang a little strange. However, in the end, it was Ji Yuyi's words. Zhang Yang said to Ji Yuyi, if it is appropriate, it will naturally make a move. Ji Yu nodded and did not talk about it again. In fact, Furuichi didn't want to care about Asgard's affairs either. What does it matter? Well, it's not connected at all. It's not because Zhang Yang provoked Odin too many times. In the middle of the night last night, after the king left, Odin came to find Ji Yuyi when he was about to sleep forever, and he messed with Ji Yuyi again. You know, Odin is a god king after all. Zhang Yang summoned others over, ignored others, and ran away by himself. Come out to mix, in the end to pay back. Ji Yuyi sighed silently in his heart, and did not mention this matter again, but just returned the topic to the topic. In 2 days, you have been able to use spirit bodies to cast magic, which is really good. After going back yesterday, there was something about spirit projection magic. Did you go back to enlightenment? Listening to Ji Yuyi's words, Zhang Yang nodded and said, enlightened. Koichi. How? Zhang Yang said modestly. It seems to be not bad. Ji Yuyi smiled. So, you should have realized something, let me see. Zhang Yang responded, and was about to perform, but suddenly, Ji Yuyi seemed to remember something, and said to Zhang Yang, just show it casually. Zhang Yang nodded, sat cross-legged on the ground, and withdrew the spirit body from his body. Soon, Zhang Yang raised his hand with the spirit body to cast a spell. As Zhang Yang cast his spell, he saw Zhang Yang's spirit body begin to shake. This made Ji Yuyi couldn't help but be stunned, and he couldn't help but think in his heart. The magic used by Zhang Yang seems to be somewhat familiar. It always feels like, wait a minute. Ji Yuyi giggled in his heart, and his eyes stared at the open spirit body. I saw that with the shaking of the Zhang Yang spirit body. Soon, from the open spirit body, the second spirit body was separated. This is the spirit doppelganger. No way, it's only the 3rd day. The flamboyant spirit body can already be separated. This will, Ji Yuyi is a little flustered. You know, the spirit body doppelganger is not such an easy thing. To learn the spirit body doppelganger, it must have strong magic energy itself, and the spirit body is also strong, in order to extract another spirit body from the spirit body. Otherwise, the 2 spirit bodies will cause too much pressure on the body and consume too much magical energy, resulting in the weakness of the body. But Zhang Yang has only practiced astral projection on the 3rd day. Can he already achieve the spirit body doppelganger? Ji Yuyi was thinking in his heart, but Zhang Yang didn't seem to stop. On the contrary, it has been pulling away. Ji Yuyi frowned. Could it be said that the flamboyant spirit body could be divided into one more? Ji Yuyi thought to himself, his eyes fixed on Zhang Yang. Sure enough, as Ji Yuyi thought, Zhang Yang's spirit body really separated the 3rd doppelganger, and Zhang Yang has not stopped. As Zhang Yang's spirit body continued to flash out, Ji Yuyi saw that Zhang Yang's spirit body was constantly separating from each other. With each doppelganger Zhang Yang, Ji Yuyi's face couldn't help but flicker. It wasn't until the 30th doppelganger separated from Zhang Yang's spirit body that Zhang Yang stopped. Koichi. I saw the open spirit body facing Ji Yuyi in unison. Master, it's okay. Ji Yuyi. Zhang Yang, how many doppelgangers can you divide at most? Zhang Yang. Probably, about 300. Ji Yuyi. Zhang Yang. By the way, Master, I plan to go back and practice again, and when I can divide 3,000 doppelgangers, give them a resounding name, called 3,000 gods and demons, what do you think? Koichi. I feel as if you're pretending to be with me. Ji Yuyi was a little depressed. She looked at the more than 30 spirit bodies that Zhang Yang was surrounding the temple at the moment, and she didn't know whether it was joy or sadness for a while. It is said that Zhang Yang practiced astral projection for 1 day, and Ji Yuyi accepted it from the body. After practicing for 2 days, you can use spirit bodies to cast magic, and Furuchi also accepted it. On the 3rd day of practice, you can be separated from the body, and this Furuchi also accepted. But now he can divide 300 doppelgangers, which makes Ji Yuyi feel a little emotional. Of course, although it is not to the point of unacceptability, it is indeed reluctant to accept. 300 doppelgangers are extremely strong for their own magical energy consumption, and at the same time they consume spiritual power. Not to mention 300. Judging from the time it took Zhang Yang to cultivate planetary body projection, it was already a bit incredible to divide 30. However, this also made Ji Yuyi accept what Odin said before. That is, Zhang Yang's body now has a strong magical energy. Otherwise, it is impossible to separate 30 spirits with fanfare, and there is nothing at all. It seems that the magical energy in Zhang Yang's body should not only be Weishandi's, but also the energy of other dimensional spaces. Master. Just as Ji Yuyi was thinking, Zhang Yang suddenly stopped Ji Yuyi. This made Ji Yuyi ease his mind from the shock, and for a while, he looked at Zhang Yang. Huh. At this time, all the spirit bodies that are open have returned to the flesh. I've been practicing magic for a while. I have gained some understanding of magic, and from this, I have also found some problems. Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi and couldn't help but say. In fact, Zhang Yang found some problems before, but those did not affect Zhang Yang's practice, so Zhang Yang did not ask, but now, Zhang Yang these questions seem to affect his practice somewhat. Zhang Yang thinks that perhaps these questions need to be answered by Ji Yuyi. What problem? Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and couldn't help asking. Master, I found that there are many kinds of magical energy in my body, which can sometimes help me completely perform some high-level magic, but sometimes, it feels a little difficult to control. Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi and said seriously. Zhang Yang's words made Ji Yuyi stunned. Really? Ji Yuyi was abrupt in her heart. It seemed that it was the same as she guessed. Ji Yuyi believes that there are some things that may need to be known to Zhang Yang. Thinking about it, Ji Yuyi couldn't help but look at Zhang Yang and said, it's difficult to control because those forces are too strong, and you haven't converted those energies into your own energy well, so it's difficult to control. This made Zhang Yang a little puzzled. Looking at Ji Yuyi, Zhang Yang had doubts written on his face. Think back, from the time you first came into contact with magic, to now, what do you think has changed the most about these magics? Ji Yu leaned over, poured a cup of tea and handed it to Zhang Yang. The magic I learned before required spells, but recently, a lot of magic does not require spells, it seems to be directly converted from the energy in my body. Zhang Yang truthfully said his changes. This made Ji Yu nodded a little. You know, what does this mean? I don't know. Zhang Yang saluted Ji Yu Yixing. I also asked the master for advice. This means that you have been promoted, Furuchi said with a smile. In fact, energy forms in your body the first time you can unleash magic. However, at the beginning, this energy is not very strong, so it is difficult for ordinary mages who are new to contact to notice, and at that time, your attention is to use the spells formed in your mind to release magic, similar to casting magic such as the Ring of Ragdoll, which requires the use of spells. Ji Yuyi paused for a moment after speaking, looked at Zhang Yang's furrowed brows as if pondering something, smiled and continued. But the magic that is based on those things, we also call it a cult, you can call it a cult. Through your continuous practice, starting from the basic magic, when the magic energy in the body becomes stronger and stronger, your magic is no longer limited to this spell, but more is transformed by the magical energy in your body, similar to the power of space, and the fear magic you have cast before. In fact, Ji Yuyi discovered that Zhang Yang had magical energy in his body that was beyond ordinary mages when Zhang Yang inadvertently learned the fear magic that Wang and them made up. During the Great War of New York, Ji Yuyi also felt a powerful magical energy. This proves that Zhang Yang's fear magic is a kind of magic released by Zhang Yang's own magical energy. In essence, it can belong to ostentatious self-created magic. It's just that at that time, Zhang Yang didn't have much contact with magic, so he didn't know it himself, and he created a magic himself. It was also from that time that Ji Yuyi paid attention to Zhang Yang's magical talent and understanding, and in essence, Zhang Yang was a natural magician. There are many books in the library, and not all mages can understand them. Even if they understand it, not all mages can do it, so someone wants to use other powers, such as the power of darkness. Ji Yuyi's sudden opening made Zhang Yang look stunned. Dark powers, isn't this a forbidden word for Kamar Taj? Why did Ji Yuyi suddenly mention it? Similar, Dormammu's power. Although he didn't understand why Ji Yuyi suddenly said this, Zhang Yang couldn't help but ask. Ji Yu nodded. Ordinary people themselves do not have so-called magic energy, but we can obtain these energies through practice, and all magic casts require magic energy, whether it is basic or advanced, and at the same time, when casting, it will also be consumed. It's just that this process of practicing magic is sometimes very slow, and even because the difference in talent will stagnate or even break through, there will be many people who slowly want to use other forces to achieve a breakthrough and dedicate their souls. Ji Yuyi originally wanted to tell Zhang Yang about this later. But now, Ji Yuyi believes that there are some things that Zhang Yang should be exposed to. However, not all people who have studied dark magic need to give their souls. As long as you master the rules, convert the energy you draw from the other dimension into your own energy. Ji Yuyi said. Her serious look suddenly disappeared. She looked at Zhang Yang, and said with a rare smile, in fact, in my opinion, magic is not black and white, but people are black and white. Black magic and white magic are themselves multiplication principles, and everything in this world we pay attention to is balance. Then, why did the master forbid Kamar Taj to study black magic? Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi and couldn't help asking. Because most mages choose to exchange with dark power, only a very small number of mages can comprehend the rules of dark magic and thus balance it with white magic. Ji Yuyi explained to Zhang Yang. This made Zhang Yang couldn't help nodding, and he probably understood something in his heart. So what the master means is that in fact, all the energy in my body is absorbed from the space of another dimension. Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi and couldn't help asking. Furuchi's face showed a hint of relief. Yes, feel all the energy in your body, use your energy to release magic, and don't repel them. Learning magic should not be limited to the surface of magic, spells only help you understand and master these magics quickly. If every magic is bound by a spell, then it is difficult for magic to spawn. You should now learn to use energy to study magic, study the cosmic cube, learn magic and derive new magic. This is what I told you about creating magic, and it may be a bit difficult, but as a truly powerful mage, you have to go through it. You can't let these magical energies from other dimensions control you, you should control them. After Ji Yuyi finished speaking, he put down the cup in his hand. When the words fell, Ji Yuyi raised his hand and gently slapped Zhang Yang. This palm directly slapped Zhang Yang's spirit body directly away from the flesh. This is magic, using energy to strike power. We are different from superhumans in that we can use energy to create or release any kind of magic. But only if you need to have powerful magical energy. Zhang Yang suddenly realized. He returned the spirit body to the physical body and faced Ji Yuyi. Thank you master for your advice. Ji Yu nodded. Okay, today, continue to practice astral projection magic. Creating magic. After practicing in the ancient temple, Zhang Yang had been thinking about creating magic. I have to say that after Ji Yuyi's explanation, many things suddenly had ideas in Zhang Yang's mind for a while. Originally, Zhang Yang thought that a lot of magic only needs to be memorized by spell or fusion. But now Ji Yuyi gave Zhang Yang a new idea. that is, to use energy to convert into magic, which is indeed worth Zhang Yang to study. Thinking about it, Zhang Yang walked towards the dormitory. After thinking about it for another night, early the next morning, Zhang Yang went to the Ancient One Holy Temple. Seeing Ji Yuyi, Zhang Yang saluted as always, but the expression on his face seemed to be a little happy. It seems that there is something to make you happy today. Looking at the smile on Zhang Yang's face, Ji Yuyi couldn't help asking, picked up the teapot and poured a cup of tea and handed it to Zhang Yang. Master, what you told me yesterday, I felt very useful, so I went back yesterday and thought about it all night, and I seem to have created a magic. Zhang Yang took a sip of tea and then said to Ji Yuyi. Ji Yuyi, what did you just say? You created the magic yourself. When I went back last night, I studied what you said, Master, and then I felt as if I had created a kind of magic. Zhang Yang said seriously to Ji Yuyi. This made Ji Yuyileng's hand go down. Essentially, Zhang Yang is the ability to create magic. After all, before, Zhang Yang had barely created fear magic through Wang's guidance. Of course, although this magic is not very powerful, it is very practical. It may be convenient to deal with people with relatively weak magical energy, but it may not work against people with strong magical energy. This time, Zhang Yang said that he had created another magic. This made Ji Yuyi a little curious and a little relieved. After all, anyway, Zhang Yang has begun to try to use the energy in his body to derive magic, so the more difficult magic in the follow-up, similar to time magic, real magic, Ji Yuyi thinks, can be put on the agenda. Is it? What magic did you create? Thinking about it like this, Ji Yuyi was in a good mood and asked Zhang Yang, is it a defense type, an auxiliary type, or a melee fight? Ji Yuyi would guess this for a reason. After all, Zhang Yang didn't have much to say about aggressive magic right now. Kamar Taj disciples themselves do not inherit much offensive magic. Most of the attack magic is based on fighting. In fact, it is not that Ji Yuyi does not know these offensive magic, but most of the offensive magic belongs to dark magic, and Ji Yuyi is thinking about when to teach these magic to Zhang Yang. I don't know. Zhang Yang shook his head. This magic, if you really talk about the type, Zhang Yang can't think of what type it is for a while, and he explained to Ji Yuyi, I just made a simple combination of the previous fear magic and the spirit projection magic. What's the thing? Combined with astral projection magic. So you say you've created spirit type magic? Seriously, Furuchi didn't believe it. You know, from the perspective of creating magic, spirit magic is the most difficult to create. Because one's spirit body is very fragile. While it can be enhanced through practice, the problem is that it takes time. Zhang Yang has only practiced astral projection magic for 4 days, right? Can you create magic with astral projection on the 4th day? So other people's cultivation is measured in years. Do you cultivate daring to be affectionate by heaven? This will, Ji Yuyidong really didn't believe it. You know, if Zhang Yang can really create soul-type magic, then the lethality is extremely strong. The disappearance of one's soul also represents the disappearance in the true sense of the word. If Zhang Yang created other magic, Ji Yuyi can still believe it. After all, the magic ability in Zhang Yang's body is powerful, but the magic of the spirit body, Ji Yuyi really does not believe it. Yes, Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and said, why don't you show it to me? Although Ji Yuyi didn't believe it in his heart, Ji Yuyi didn't show anything on his face, just said unusually flatly. Yes, master, Zhang Yang said, and was about to cast it, when suddenly, Ji Yuyi stopped Zhang Yang. Wait. Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi for no apparent reason. Let's change places, Ji Yuyi said lightly. After all, after teaching Zhang Yang for so long, Ji Yuyi is still very clear about Zhang Yang's urine nature. Summoning was summoned by Dormammu. Air fetched and took Odin's eternal spear directly. If Zhang Yang was allowed to restrain his ability to cast magic, Ji Yuyi felt that this was not a good thing. After all, on the whole, this would affect Ji Yuyi's judgment of Zhang Yang. Can let Zhang Yang unleash his ability in Kamar Taj. Furuchi thought about it and felt a little dangerous. Thinking about it this way, Ji Yuyi felt that she should perhaps change places and give Zhang Yang a bigger space. Okay, master, where are we going? Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi and asked. Go to the universe, Ji Yuyi said and pressed his hand to Zhang Yang's head. At the moment when Gu's hand put his head open, Zhang Yang felt that his consciousness and soul were quickly withdrawn from his body. The surrounding pictures were constantly flashing, and after a burst of vertigo, Zhang Yang was in a vast space. Under your feet is a blue, transparent, shimmering sphere, that is, Earth. Use the energy in your body to support your spirit body and adapt to the environment of the universe. Just when Zhang Yang was a little surprised, Ji Yuyi's spirit body appeared in front of Zhang Yang. This is dimensional travel magic. Looking at Zhang Yang's surprise, Ji Yuyi explained to Zhang Yang, I just helped you with my energy, after this, you can go on dimensional travel by yourself. Ji Yuyi put his hands behind his back. Looking at her familiar appearance, it seems that she has traveled many times. Yes, thank you, master. Zhang Yang faced Ji Yuyi. Okay, now, you can cast your own magic. Looking at this vast and boundless space, Ji Yu nodded and said to Zhang Yang. As long as it doesn't affect the earth, Ji Yuyi thinks, it's okay. After all, Koichi's duty is only to protect the earth. Here, you can unleash your energy without reservation. Ji Yuyi believes that the ability to open up now, released in the universe, is the safest. Yes, master, Zhang Yang answered, and when the words fell, Zhang Yang began to use magic. At the same time, Furuchi suddenly seemed to hear someone calling her, Gui. Are you traveling in the dimension? It's really a coincidence, it seems that between the two of us, there are still accounts that have not been settled. Ji Yuyi turned around. The person who came turned out to be Odin. But not Odin's body, but Odin's spirit. In this way, Odin has already begun to sleep in a state of eternal sleep, so is the spirit body going to the multiverse to suck up energy. God King, Furuchi thought to himself and shouted at Odin. Ji Yuyi's words just fell, and suddenly, seeing Odin's expression while watching, his gaze seemed to look at Zhang Yang. Why is he here too? Looking at Zhang Yang, Odin's heart couldn't help but tighten. It's such a God King, I am studying in the universe with my disciples. Ji Yuyi said to Odin. Odin, I'll go first, Ji Yuyi, our account, we'll settle it when I wake up. Odin always felt that learning magic was not a good thing for him. Anyway, it's still respectful. Odin never expected that he would meet Zhang Yang. No, you said that if you meet in Asgard, forget it. This will all sleep for a long time, and the soul will go to the universe, and you can still encounter this, right? Before Odin finished speaking, he turned around and wanted to slip away. At this moment, the flamboyant magic seemed to have begun to kick in. Ji Yuyi, God King, I think you may not be able to leave. As soon as Ji Yuyi's words fell, he saw that with Zhang Yang's casting, a doppelganger was withdrawn from his spirit body. Somehow, the flaunting doppelganger rushed towards Odin's spirit body like a ghost hitting the wall, and then quickly passed through Odin's spirit body, and then disappeared. Soon, the second spirit avatar once again rushed towards Odin's spirit body, and quickly disappeared in the time it passed through Odin's spirit body. This made Ji Yuyi a little puzzled. What kind of magic did Zhang Yang create? What's so aggressive? Generally speaking, soul-type magic will cause a strong aggression to the enemy's soul, but looking at Odin, it seems that he has not been attacked. Ji Yuyi thought to himself, and simply stood in place and watched. Anyway, Odin is a god king, and it is estimated that Zhang Yang will not cause any actual harm to Odin. Thinking about it, Furuchi looked at Odin. Seeing the open spirit body doppelganger constantly piercing towards Odin's spirit body, and the speed was very fast, when he saw the 30th spirit body passing through Odin's body, Odin suddenly stopped, and then slowly turned around. This made Ji Yuyi stunned and continued to watch. About the second 100 spirit bodies passed through Odin's body, a gloomy expression appeared on Odin's face. When the third 100 spirit body passed through Odin's body, great pain appeared on Odin's face. Ji Yuyi couldn't help but be stunned. Could it be that the magic of ostentatious creation makes people miserable? After all, Zhang Yang seemed to have said before that the self-created magic was adapted from fear magic and spirit projection magic. Just when Ji Yuyi was thinking about these questions in his head, the fifth 100 spirit bodies had already passed through Odin's body. Before Ji Yuyi could react, he saw that Odin suddenly knelt in front of Ji Yuyi, and then supported the ground with both hands. This moment made Ji Yuyi look dumbfounded. What is this? Ji Yuyi was a little stunned, but the doppelganger of Zhang Yang's spirit body was still passing through Odin's spirit body. And, as those spirit doppelgangers passed through, Odin suddenly cried bitterly, "I'm really miserable. There is no point in me living at all. I want to die. I, as the god King Odin, have two sons who do not fight. That eldest son Thor, reckless like a puppet, where is the spirit of God? When I was fine, I took a hammer and shouted that I wanted to hit someone, but I couldn't beat it, and I was beaten down several times. It really lost the face of my god king. And my second son, Loki, all day long, I want to usurp the throne. Either he wants to kill me, he wants to kill his brother. If you really want to die, don't you dare, every day there are all kinds of moths. I'm really miserable. Born as a god, I haven't stopped for a day. I really want to die sometimes," Odin said as he pounded and cried. "Live like a child who is too anxious." This moment made Ji Yuyi look stupid. I don't know whether to comfort or not care. Looking at Odin like this, Ji Yuyi hesitantly stepped forward and said, "Hundreds of years old, a little more mature." However, Odin continued to cry as if he hadn't heard it. The flamboyant spirit avatar is also constantly passing through Odin's body. After being stunned for a while, Ji Yuyi knew that Odin was probably related to ostentatious magic. So, Furuchi didn't care, just watched Odin continue to spit on his two sons. When about 800 spirit bodies were withdrawn from Zhang Yang's doppelganger, Zhang Yang finally stopped casting spells. "Master, all right." Zhang Yang exhaled a long breath and faced Ji Yuyi. At this time, Zhang Yang seemed to notice the person kneeling on the ground with his head bowed and wailing. "It seems a little familiar." "Zhang Yang, Master, this old man looks like the god King Odin." "Koichi, it's not like, he is." "Zhang Yang, Master, he is like this, it can't be my magic." "Ji Yuyi, be confident, he just got your magic." "Zhang Yang. Koichi, what's the use of your magic? Although I understood a rough idea, I didn't know much." "Zhang Yang, Master, this magic is called negative magic." Ji Yuyi was puzzled. "Is negativity magic?" Zhang Yang explained. "To be precise, I use the body doppelganger magic combined with fear magic. When my spirit avatar passes through a person, it will make them have extremely negative emotions, so as to kneel on the ground. To a certain extent, it is also a control type of magic, like." Zhang Yang said. His eyes looked at Odin, who was kneeling on the ground and crying bitterly. This made Ji Yuyi's gaze couldn't help but look at Odin. "Soul control, so it looks like it is a powerful magic." Ji Yu nodded and continued to ask, "How long can that be controlled?" Zhang Yang said, "A spirit avatar can probably control it for about a minute." Furuchi nodded again. A minute, it was indeed quite long. For many powerful mages, 1 minute is enough to kill. Ji Yuyi, however, I roughly calculated that the God King only knelt down when your 500th doppelganger passed through the body of the God King. Zhang Yang was stunned. Presumably the God King spirit body is too strong. Generally speaking, one spirit body can achieve this effect. It seems that I still need to strengthen the strength of the spirit body a little more. Ji Yu nodded. It makes sense. But, Zhang Yang looked at the God King who was still kneeling on the ground and crying bitterly at this moment, and couldn't help but ask Ji Yuyi, "Master, why is the God King still like this? It stands to reason that it should be almost a minute." Ji Yuyi, how many spirit bodies have you divided in total? Zhang Yang, probably, more than 800, Master, shouldn't it all be released against the God King alone? Koichi, you guessed right, that's it. Zhang Yang, God King, I really didn't mean it. Zhang Yang was speechless for a while, looking at Odin, who was kneeling on the ground and crying bitterly at this moment, and said to Ji Yuyi, "Master, otherwise let's go first." Ji Yu nodded. The two turned around, and just as they were about to leave, they heard a fury behind them, "You two beasts. Give me a stop." Ji Yuyi and Zhang Yang looked at each other. God, Odin actually burst into foul language, "It's over, it's over." Odin really wanted to calm down, really. With his hands clenched into fists, Odin still couldn't contain his trembling body. The bravado of heavenly killing. If you learn magic, you learn magic, but why do you pit me Asgard every time, every time? You can take a day off. Dormammu and your Kamar Taj are mortal rivals, can't your magic work against Dormammu? Well, Are you interesting to stare at me day by day? Odin took a deep breath, and the connotation and kingly demeanor cultivated for thousands of years collapsed in front of Zhang Yang at this moment. Odin really wants to calm himself down. But when you encounter Zhang Yang in such a deep pit, don't say it's him. The entire multiverse is estimated to be unbearable. Just now, Odin was hit by what negative magic Zhang Yang said, and then as soon as the sadness came up, he knelt on the ground and cried bitterly. But he is not amnesiac. He remembers his every move clearly and clearly. God. He actually knelt down for Ji Yuyi. The most important thing is that seeing that he was hit by magic, Ji Yuyi not only did not shout Zhang Yang to stop, but also talked to Zhang Yang about this magic in front of him. I'm crying here, and you're having fun talking there. Also tell me about people in their hundreds, a little more mature. Well, I want to mature too. Did you give me a chance? No, Zhang Yang, what kind of grudge do I have with you? 800 doppelgangers, you put it all on me. Ji Yuyit is also here. You put 400 on her. You asked her to also kneel down and repent of life. Are you wet with rain and dew? Have to pit me. But if you use 100 doppelgangers on Ji Yuyi, I won't be so angry. I'm in Asgard, you either open the portal or send the Hulk over, or take my stuff. I'm ready to go to bed, wear pajamas, go barefoot, and be summoned by you to Earth to help you fight monsters. I finally thought that I had slept for a long time, and finally got rid of you. God is so good that he can't die, and he can still meet spirit bodies in the universe. No, you just pit me before I go to bed. I sleep and you come back in my dreams. The ghost can't get rid of you, can it? I tell you, Zhang Yang, I haven't finished the 2 accounts yet. And those 2 times you poked my son's ass. God, my first god king really poured blood mold. Odin took a deep breath and looked at Zhang Yang. Odin couldn't help but tremble his lips in anger. Ji Yuyi, what deep grudge do I have with you, Kamar Taj? Ji Yuyi smiled faintly. The god king said and smiled. When the words fell, Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and said, you go back, and then go to coach the star projection. After speaking, Ji Yuyi sent the open spirit body back to the flesh with one palm. Ji Yuyi is not stupid, this god king is angry. What if a palm slaps Zhang Yang's spirit body apart? Thinking about it, Ji Yuyi believes that it is safest to send Zhang Yang back. Seeing this, Odin was angry. Then why does your disciple always have trouble with my great Asgard? Ji Yuyi shook his head. Why does the God King think so? Kamar Taj has always had a good relationship with Asgard. Odin snorted coldly. What a fart. Ji Yuyi sighed and said, the God King must also know about Zhang Yang. My apprentice is extremely savvy, and I am also carefully teaching him magic. It's just that he recently created a new magic, and in order to avoid Kamar Taj being in danger, I brought him to the universe, so coincidentally, I happened to meet the God King. Odin, Zhang Yang can actually create magic now. Odin was stunned. Wait, no, that's not the point. The point is that you also know that you are afraid that Kamar Taj will be implicated, so you allow him to use magic against Asgard. Against me. Then you can let Zhang Yang experiment on me. Odin looked at Ji Yuyi angrily. Ji Yuyi chuckled. The God King is serious, you came by yourself. Besides, the God King has superior divine power, and the flamboyant little trick is not enough to hurt you. Look, what is this talking about? I'm being targeted, and I complain that I came when I was wrong. Ji Yuyi, it's time to settle the account between us. Odin said this almost through gritted teeth. When the words fell, Odin raised his hand and looked like that, as if he wanted to fight with Ji Yuyi. Ji Yuyi didn't want to get into conflict with Odin. The God King wants to sleep for a long time and rest well, and Ragnarok still needs you to deal with it. As Ji Yuyi spoke, a flash flashed the spirit body back into his body. In the huge universe, only Odin is left. When I wake up, I, Asgard, will have a battle with you, Kamar Taj. Odin said angrily. God, Lao Tzu still doesn't believe in evil. 3 days without hitting the house to unveil the tiles. Really, when Odin is vegetarian. Kamar Taj, the ancient temple. Zhang Yang slowly opened his eyes and moved his muscles. It didn't take long for Ji Yuyi to open his eyes as well. It seemed that both of their spirit bodies had returned to their bodies. Master, God King, are you okay? Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi, a little embarrassed for a while. He didn't expect that Odin would suddenly appear. Ji Yuyi got up carelessly and poured a cup of tea. It looks pretty good, saying that when he wakes up, he will lead the army to fight Kamar Taj. Zhang Yang. Master, where is this good? Ji Yuyi smiled. It's okay, Odin's temperament is like this, you provoked him so many times, he is angry. Zhang Yang was stunned. Then, what should I do? Ji Yuyi smiled and did not answer Zhang Yang's question, only said, isn't Thor still in Kamar Taj? For a while, I didn't hear his voice. If he really can't control the power of Thor in his body, it is better to send him back to Asgard and let his sister teach him. Zhang Yang was stunned. Thor still has a sister. Ji Yu nodded. Naturally, there is, named Hela, the goddess of death. Zhang Yang. Then why don't you see her? Ji Yuyi smiled and said. Sealed by Odin, locked up in Kamar Taj, the Ragnarok I told you about before was caused by her sister, Thor. This sister is terrible, and hates Asgard to the bone. Zhang Yang. Master, I think you are pitting Odin. Zhang Yang originally felt that Ji Yuyi really planned to teach Thor to the gods of dusk. But looking at it this way, how does it always feel like Saul is a hostage of Kamar Taj? How so? Ji Yuyi took a sip of tea and said to Zhang Yang. By the way, your soul control magic, I think it's not bad, you can practice more, if you can hit the God King once, it is the best, after all, the more doppelgangers will consume more magic energy in your body. It is not conducive to your continued learning of magic. Zhang Yang nodded and said, yes, master, I will practice well. Ji Yu nodded and looked at Zhang Yang and said, apprentice, master, I am in a good mood today, and I am ready to teach you a new magic. Zhang Yang was a little pleased. New magic. Ji Yu nodded and said, well, to be precise, it has something to do with changing reality. Change reality. Isn't that the ability of the real rough? This made Zhang Yang a little excited for a while. You know, if the ability to change reality can be learned, it is definitely a qualitative improvement for Zhang Yang. And according to Zhang Yang's understanding in Kamar Taj, there are many strong mages in this world who will change reality. For example, Merlin's apprentice, Morgan Le Fay, is said to be one of the most powerful witches in the history of Earth. Her ability to change reality. Moreover, Zhang Yang has also seen Doctor Strange use the ability to change reality in Avengers 3 before. That is, Doctor Strange used a magical energy to defuse Thanos' rough stone attack, turning that power into a butterfly. Later, it was jokingly called the butterfly flying magic. Is it any wonder that Ji Yuyi wants to teach himself that? Zhang Yang thought to himself, sitting cross-legged on the ground and looking at Ji Yuyi. Seeing Ji Yuyi said to Zhang Yang, what I want to teach you today is the ancient body of Hogs, a magic that uses the magical energy in your body to dissolve the power and achieve the change of reality. Ji Yuyi said, and also sat cross-legged and looked at Zhang Yang. In fact, changing reality magic is a difficult force to control. This power will even be more difficult to control than the power of space, so when you learn this magic, it will be a long and arduous process. If you encounter any problems in the middle, you must tell me as soon as possible. Ji Yuyi said. His face suddenly became serious. In fact, the magic of modifying reality is very big for the world, so before you cannot stabilize control, do not change things at will. The change of a thing is doomed to the development of all things from the timeline of the universe to the modification. The consequence is likely to get rid of things you did not expect. Of course, if you learn the magic of modifying reality, I will teach you to control time. Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and said seriously. Although the ancient religion has not been flamboyant for a long time. But Zhang Yang is now basically able to master the power of space and astral projection magic. Furuchi thought it was time for her to seriously teach Zhang Yang something. Seriously, although Ji Yuyi knows Zhang Yang's urine nature very well, the problem is that Ji Yuyi himself does not have much time left. She must teach a powerful mage who can protect the earth. If there must be a person, then this person can only be ostentatious. Yes, master, I see. After listening to Ji Yuyi's words, Zhang Yang said to Ji Yuyi seriously. Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and nodded. Then now, I will teach you the ancient body of Hogs. Zhang Yang nodded, looking at Ji Yuyi's serious expression. This Zhang Yang also became serious. You know, after all, this is magic that can modify reality. Zhang Yang was naturally a little more serious. At this moment, Ji Yuyi paused. She looked at Zhang Yang, and did not speak for a long time. This made Zhang Yang nervous for a while. Master, what's wrong? After waiting for a long time, seeing that Ji Yuyi still didn't react, Zhang Yang couldn't help asking. But this time, Ji Yuyi still did not speak. This made Zhang Yang couldn't help but look at Ji Yuyi and didn't speak again. Until after waiting for a long time, Ji Yuyi suddenly spoke, "Now, follow me." Zhang Yang nodded. "Yes, master. Ancient One. In the ancient name of Oshutu, Agamo listens to my generation, summons the ancient body of hogs." Zhang Yang. "Master, what is this?" Ancient One. "Spell." Zhang Yang. "So, magic that can modify reality is a spell." Koichi. "Yes." Zhang Yang. At this moment, Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi in amazement, and he didn't know why. Zhang Yang always had a little doubt about what Ji Yuyi said now. "No, modify reality. Such high-end magic, can it be solved with just one spell?" "Master, are you serious? Aren't you kidding me? This spell, no matter how you look at it, looks quite like the spell that the second teenager in the Japanese manga chanted when he used magic." "Master, are you sure that chanting this spell can modify reality?" Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi and asked seriously. "Do you have any doubts about my words?" Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang, and his eyebrows couldn't help but raise. To be honest, when Furuchi first came into contact with this magic, he also felt a little. After all, most of the high-end magic in ancient contact with magic power is gathered with energy in the body. Spells are rarely used, but this magic is really simple enough to be a spell. However, just this spell can exert great power. This made Ji Yuyi sometimes have to sigh that magic is really Zon. "No, master, but this," Zhang Yang paused halfway through his words, and continued, "this spell looks similar to the Gunera, God of Darkness, Bala Little Demon Immortal Transformation." Ji Yuyi. Although Ji Yuyi couldn't understand what Zhang Yang meant, Ji Yuyi heard Zhang Yang's question. "So, the ancient body shouted, 'In the ancient name of Oshutu, Agamotto listens to my generation, summons the ancient body of hogs.'" After the words fell, after a while, Furuchi raised his right hand and gathered a wave of energy in his hand. Cast passed at the table in the room. The moment that energy was projected onto the table turned into a cup of tea. Zhang Yang. "Isn't it, this magic, is it so simple?" Zhang Yang thought to himself, and suddenly, he listened to Ji Yuyi. "Do you think in your heart that this magic is very simple, and only a simple spell is needed?" Zhang Yang didn't say anything and nodded. However, Furuchi suddenly smiled and shook his head and said to Zhang Yang, "Zhang Yang, I told you, magic needs to see the essence through phenomena, and Hog's ancient body magic is not a simple magic, on the contrary, it is difficult. From the beginning, it is hard. This magic seems to require a simple spell, but the problem is that it requires the magic energy of Hogs. That mantra is just a summoning, or, you can understand it, to absorb energy. In this multiverse, we can get energy from many places, but only if the source of those energies does not agree with you to obtain them, and the spell is just a way for you to ask them to give you energy, but if you are not recognized by Hogs, even if you recite it 100 times, it is useless. Besides, even if Hogs agrees to give you energy, there is a certain probability that you will modify the item when you cast magic. This probability, for beginners, is generally very low. Since you can't harness this powerful energy, you can try it now." Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang, and the expression on his face was a little gentler at this moment. "You know, although the flamboyant understanding is very strong. But learning this magic, when you start to get started, has little to do with understanding. It's just that if you can get started with this magic, the latter's practice has something to do with enlightenment. There are always magic in magic that seem simple, but some people can't learn it in a lifetime." Therefore, Ji Yuyi Zhao Zhang Yang also wanted Zhang Yang to try this magic. If not, it proves that perhaps Zhang Yang still needs to hone for a while before he can learn the true meaning of magic. You know, when Ji Yuyi learned this magic, it took 20 years just to get started. To be precise, to learn this magic, you need God's approval. At least in the time that ancient Yin has traveled so long and met so many mages, he has never seen anyone who can summon the energy of Hog's ancient body for the first time. You know, after all, it is an ancient god. Ji Yuyi thought about it, and couldn't help sighing. Try it. Zhang Yang nodded hesitantly, and asked Ji Yuyi, Master, what is that spell called? What is Ji Yu Nara's dark god? Ancient One. In the name of the Ancient of Oshutu, Agamotto listens to my generation, summons the ancient body of hogs. Zhang Yang nodded and read, in the ancient name of Oshut, Agamo listens to my generation, summons the ancient body of hogs. With the moment Zhang Yang recited the spell, Zhang Yang only felt that a powerful force surrounded Zhang Yang's body. This force made Zhang Yang's whole body seem to be opened. There were originally a lot of magical energy in the body that could not be fused, and it seemed that all of them had fused with the help of this force. Zhang Yang raised his hand, looked at the table not far away, and projected the energy in his hand. The moment the energy touched the table, I saw that the table in the ancient room turned into a sofa. Zhang Yang, Master, why do I think your magic seems to be much simpler than you say? Ji Yuyi, can anyone explain to me why Zhang Yang was able to summon the ancient body of hogs for the first time? Ji Yuyi was a little confused, and there was a trace of disbelief. You know, Zhang Yang only studied magic for about 2 weeks, barely 3 weeks. It's just that you are open to the extreme. But now, a person who has only studied magic for 3 weeks can directly summon the ancient body of hogs at the first summoning. Directly approved by God. Who is hogs? But anyone who has studied magic at Kamar Taj knows it. Hogs is Visandi, that is, most of the source of magical energy for the Kamar Taj mage. You know, Emperor Weishan is not a person, but a trinity, god composed of 3 ancient gods on the earth. Simply put, Vesandi is an alliance of them, and these 3 gods are Agamotto, Oshutu, and hogs. Generally speaking, the ancient gods all had shelves. It's as if when you ask them to give you energy, the ancient gods need you to go through many tribulations to hone your mind and things. In Vishan Emperor, here is no exception. Although Ji Yuyi can obtain energy from Emperor Vishan. But when he first learned the ancient body of hogs, he was not tortured by this Emperor of Vishan, and after 20 years of tribulation, after fighting against countless dark forces in various dimensional spaces, Ji Yuyi was finally recognized, thus summoning the ancient body of hogs for the first time. At that moment, Furuchi was grateful. Later, after Ji Yuyi lived for so long and practiced for so long, Ji Yuyi slowly discovered something. In fact, those so-called tempering your heart or something, are those ancient gods in order to pretend to be forced and make you feel the hard-won energy to do this. In fact, what recognition is not recognized, they have long been determined in their hearts. But the question is, why are they not pretending here? So easily let Zhang Yang summon the ancient body of hogs. Completely not given at all tribulation. Is this Zhang Yang related to Emperor Weishan? The ancient gods said that when they are called, they are summoned. Ji Yuyi was a little depressed in his heart, and a little angry. Remembering the difficulties he had experienced in the past 20 years in order to practice the magic of the ancient body of hogs, Koichi felt that it was not worth it. It felt like Ji Yuyi had worked hard to get a treasure from someone else. I finally found it. As a result, Zhang Yang took out this treasure to show Ji Yuyi, and said that this thing was given by that person. Irritating. It's so infuriating. At this moment, Ji Yuyi didn't know why he went through those 20 years of tribulation. She always felt that she learned about magic in this multiverse. In those 20 years, she experienced loneliness. Hey, Master, why did the sofa I just changed into disappear and return to its original state? Just when Ji Yuyi was resentful in his heart, Zhang Yang's voice suddenly sounded in Ji Yuyi's ears. This will make Ji Yuyi slow down. Taking a deep breath and calming his mood, Ji Yuyi slowly spoke. Spell, just the basics, simply put, just an introductory spell. Just now, do you feel the energy of hogs absorbed into your body? Although Ji Yuyi's heart was not even Weishan Emperor's partiality, there was still no wave on his face. With his hands behind him, Furuchi slowly walked to the table and poured a cup of chrysanthemum tea to extinguish the fire. There is a force. Zhang Yang nodded. This is what you will practice in the future. Furuchi took a sip of tea. From the first time you summon the ancient body of hogs, his energy is in your body. You need to improve this magical energy in your body, and as this energy increases, you will improve the reality that can be modified and the time to modify. Each time you use it, you must use a spell to activate the abilities in your body. Zhang Yang nodded, looked at Ji Yuyi and couldn't help but ask, that master, what will happen if you practice the ability of the ancient body of hogs in your body to the extreme? Ji Yuyi looked at Zhang Yang and said seriously, permanent modification. Permanent modification. Zhang Yang looked at Ji Yuyi. Wouldn't that be able to do whatever you want? Ji Yuyi. No, ostentatiously, the word do whatever you want is overused. But, exactly, it is. Ji Yu nodded. It's just that it's not so easy to get to the point of doing whatever you want. Not to mention that Ji Yuyi can still practice without doing whatever he wants. Let's say that in this multiverse, there are still judges and regulators. This super bug ability that can modify reality, if it really makes you do whatever you want. Besides, you're just getting started. Although you have good understanding, this ability is not something you will learn in a while. You know, this magic is even more difficult to practice than the power of space. Shaking his head, Ji Yuyi said calmly, Zhang Yang, you must remember that learning magic is a long and arduous process, and many things are not as simple as you think. In the universe, there are principles and basic rules that belong to the universe, and you must always remember to master the rules first and then use the rules. Okay, master, I'll keep it in mind. Zhang Yang said humbly. Well, this time, you have been exposed to a lot of magic, but don't be lazy. Astral projection magic and the power of space, you need to continue to study and understand, as well as the ancient body magic of hogs, you must also properly understand and practice. Know that your enemies are far stronger than you think. Ji Yuyi said, looked at Zhang Yang and nodded, giving an affirmative look. Okay, you go back first, practice well. When the words fell, Ji Yuyi sat on the ground and closed his eyes. That master, I'll go first. Zhang Yang saluted and left the ancient temple. On the way back, Zhang Yang kept thinking about the hog's ancient body magic that he had just learned. It has to be said, Zhang Yang had just come into contact with this magic, and his definition of this magic was a little vague. There is no precise definition of the upper limit that can be modified and how long it can be modified. This made Zhang Yang feel that this magic had to be practiced in addition to thinking more. This will be, Zhang Yang remembered that Ji Yuyi said let him practice more. Walking on the way to Kamar Taj, Zhang Yang couldn't help but think about experimenting. So casually, I practiced for a while. It's just that along the way, Zhang Yang practiced some dead things, similar to changing stones or something, and the modification time was about 3 to 5 minutes. Zhang Yang frowned, it seems that it can't be tried like this. Zhang Yang had no way of knowing where the upper limit of his current ability was. Thinking of this, Zhang Yang was a little confused, and he felt that he might have to find something else to try. Zhang Yang thought to himself, and suddenly, he heard a burst of anger. No, my hammer, when did you give it to me? Zhang Yang turned his head and looked at the fighting arena. Thor and Wang were standing opposite each other, as if arguing about something. Zhang raised his eyebrows. He suddenly felt that Thor seemed to be a good test subject. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.